disparaged online, with locals perceived as undesirable as well. Yet, the owner of this dumpling stall emerged as a positive figure in the eyes of netizens. The owner, an outsider who had come to buy property and settle here, had brought along a brother with special needs, and his culinary skills were said to be exceptional. From any angle, he appeared to be a savior, devoid of any flaws, seemingly sent to redeem the reputation of Feng'an District. The locals of Feng'an District eagerly requested to purchase just one bun each, willingly allowing others to savor this limited delicacy. Observing this scene, the director could not help but smile with satisfaction. If he could awaken the apathetic and selfish masses, instilling in them a broader perspective, then his journey would not have been in vain. The potentially contentious remarks he made would also not have been uttered in vain. Consequently, the first bun to emerge from the steamer was undoubtedly placed into the hands of the esteemed food critic. All eyes were focused on him, as everyone understood that his forthcoming reaction would be pivotal for Feng'an District's reputation. The flavor of this bun would ultimately determine whether his visit would be riddled with misfortunes and disappointments, or whether it would yield fruitful experiences, making the journey worthwhile. Chapter 81. A bun that determines a property purchase? The food critic gazed at the bun in his hand, his throat involuntarily swallowing. His username revealed his refined palate and passion for gastronomy, whereas ordinary gourmands simply refer to themselves as foodies. There exists a class of individuals who pride themselves on their profound knowledge and love for culinary delights, identifying as Lao Tao, Tao. Unlike the average foodie, a Lao Tao considers themselves a connoisseur of taste, possessing a richer understanding and experience of cuisine, essentially, the high-end version of a foodie. The term Lao Tao originates from a mythical beast known as Tao Tai, famed for its insatiable appetite. This insatiable love for food often correlates with gluttony, and many who claim to be Lao Tao inevitably struggle with weight gain. However, the food critic is a rare specimen among Lao Tao, maintaining a notably lean physique. This can be attributed not only to his penchant for backpacking and physical activity, but also to his discerning palate. He is selective in his consumption, adhering to a principle of quality over quantity. Should a dish fail to impress, he would discard it after a single bite. Otherwise, it would result in an uncontrollable urge to regurgitate. It is this seemingly pretentious approach to dining that has enabled him to carve out a niche in the culinary world. Regardless of the establishment's fame or reputation, if he deems a dish unpalatable, he will not swallow it. One of the hallmark moments in the food critic's live streams is the expressions of restaurant owners when they witness him spitting out food. Some netizens have even compiled video montages capturing these moments, beginning with the owner's gleaming eyes upon the arrival of a prominent influencer, only to end with their smiles fading as he delivers a negative review. Had the director not been prevented from viewing such compilations due to the short distance from the police station to the market, he would have thought twice before permitting the food critic to taste the bun publicly. It would have been safer to have him sample it in the car. At this moment, as the food critic regarded the freshly steamed bun, all attention was fixed upon him. Among the crowd, someone had already begun live streaming. Such a significant event warranted documentation. Yet, the food critic remained indifferent to the number of onlookers, his dark pupils wholly consumed by the sight of the pristine white bun. An instinctive feeling assured him that this bun was indeed a rare delicacy, merely by its appearance and the craftsmanship previously displayed by Xiaolon. His expectations soared to their zenith. As he leaned closer, a rich, fresh aroma of wheat surged into his senses, akin to a thermometer plunged into boiling water, instantly soaring to its peak before bursting. Unable to contain himself any longer, he opened his mouth wide and devoured half of the bun. In that fleeting moment, the eyes of the onlookers widened, eager to capture his every reaction. After a few chews, however, his brow suddenly furrowed, revealing a hint of discomfort on his face. Perhaps overwhelmed by the multitude of gazes upon him, he stubbornly chewed a bit more, yet the expression of reluctance only intensified. The director's heart sank. It seemed that the reaction of this gourmand was not one of delight. Yet, even if it were not palatable, it surely could not be so distasteful. The gourmand's frown deepened, ultimately contorting his entire visage into a grimace. Within mere seconds, the director felt as if his heart had plummeted from paradise to abyss. Could this bun possibly be offensive? Or was the gourmand, discontented, seeking to retaliate? All he could do was hope the gourmand would swallow it down quickly. And even if he refrained from praise, at least he wouldn't curse it aloud. Under the director's eager gaze, the gourmand made a swallowing motion. The director held his breath in anticipation, but suddenly, the gourmand coughed, as if he might expel the bun from his mouth. Fortunately, he quickly covered his mouth, took a deep breath, and bounced on his knees for a moment. When he finally lowered his hand, the bun had indeed been propelled down his throat. Good news, it had not been expelled. Bad news, it had been forced down. The director's expression was now caught in a limbo between laughter and tears, while the others stared at the gourmand, equally perplexed. What was this reaction? Was the bun delectable or repulsive? Meanwhile, the viewers watching the live broadcast began to comment. I feel for the gourmand. This must be so unpalatable that he feels nauseous, yet with the director beside him, he dares not spit it out. Those familiar with the gourmand know that his body is even more honest than his palate. When faced with unappetizing fare, he starts to retch halfway through swallowing. Is that true? How can someone so delicate live to such an age? Indeed, our gourmand is a privileged heir, inherently selective in his tastes, fortunate enough to have a family that can afford it. As an infant, he couldn't even tolerate breast milk. His parents had to try over 100 formulas before finding one he could accept. I can attest to this. Previously, the gourmand visited a city notorious for its culinary desolation. For 3 whole days, he sampled everything, only able to keep down water, eventually needing to be hospitalized for a glucose drip just to have the strength to fly home. Really? How can you vouch for that? Because I am a local, born and raised in this culinary wasteland. I even met the gourmand in person. He ordered an entire table of dishes, tasted each one, then spent the rest of the time watching us eat, while he footed the bill. Wow. Given how the gourmand reacted just now, was he perhaps coerced into swallowing? No matter how bad it was, he had to force it down. Absolutely. I've never seen him behave so unusually. Fong'an District, from top to bottom, is truly daunting. While netizens engaged in various conspiracy theories, Brother Tao suddenly exclaimed with a lisp, "So hot." The director, along with the onlookers and the curious audience, were taken aback. Was his earlier pained expression and restless demeanor merely due to the scalding heat? Normally, a sensible person would spit out a hot bun immediately. Yet, he persisted in chewing and, after swallowing, seemed to risk it all. Little did they know that to spit out such a delectable bun would be a grave sin. Brother Tao felt regret. Had he known, he would not have taken such a large bite. The moment it entered his mouth, he was burned. But the filling was simply too savory to discard. He could only cool it down through rapid stirring, salivating, and frantic inhalations, managing to avoid burns. In a mere few seconds, he battled the filling in his mouth, creating chaos as if a river flowed. Just when he believed victory was near and the bun would safely settle in his stomach, he realized that the mucous membrane of his throat was far more delicate and intolerant to heat. For an instant, he felt as though he was swallowing molten lava. His stomach felt like an active volcano, with the searing heat threatening to erupt. Fortunately, he had hands. In a last-minute effort, he covered the volcanic opening, preventing the exquisite filling from becoming a cloud of ash. The thought of such precious filling falling to the ground would have been heartbreaking. As he lamented, Brother Tao's peripheral vision caught sight of the half-bun in his hand. Suddenly, he emitted a sharp cry, tears streaming down his face. Chapter 82. Shaolon. Your handmade buns have truly become a sensation. Everyone was startled. The crowd, puzzled by Brother Tao's sudden meltdown, followed his gaze to his hand. The half-bun remained, yet the filling was conspicuously absent. Looking down, he discovered that the filling had fallen onto his shoe. Only those who had tasted Shaolan's handmade buns could comprehend the value of that missing meat. The pain. It was excruciating. Brother Tao felt as if his brain were being sliced open by a chainsaw. A montage of memories flashed before him, revealing the moment he had been scalded, causing the filling to fall. Even when he had lost all his belongings, he had never felt this level of despair. Losing possessions left him dazed. Losing the filling drove him to madness. Were it not for the many eyes upon him, he would have immediately picked it up and devoured it. Anything that falls can be considered clean if picked up within 3 seconds. However, with so many eyes watching, he hesitated. Hesitation leads to defeat. Out of nowhere, a teddy dog, drawn by the aroma of fresh meat, broke free from its leash. With the advantage of size, it darted through the crowd like an arrow, swiftly snatching the filling. Meanwhile, a nearby corgi, hindered by its rotund rear, found itself stuck just a step away, watching helplessly as the filling was devoured. Its mouth agape in frantic bites at the air, attempting to deplete the air surrounding Teddy with a strategic maneuver, hoping to suffocate his rivals. He found that Teddy still thrived, while only the gluttonous brother succumbed to despair. The 2 streams of tears that had begun to roll down his cheeks were soon joined by fresh rivulets, creating a chaotic tapestry of sorrow etched across his face, fracturing it into disjointed pieces. To stifle his sobs, he shoved the remnants of a bun into his mouth. A few chews later, the grief welled up, deepening his sorrow. How delicious it was, even without the filling. If only it had contained the meat, how much more delightful it would have been. Why, oh why, was he so unfortunate? He had traveled a great distance to this place, and the food on the high-speed train had been utterly unpalatable, leaving him famished. Arriving at the market, he was greeted not by culinary delights, but by the omnipresent thieves lurking about. After much toil, he finally savored the longed-for treat, more delectable than anything he had previously encountered. Yet, it had slipped away. The filling was the very essence of a bun, and to make matters worse, a dog had devoured it. Why should a dog fare better than he? The moment of collapse came swiftly, yet the emotions that led to it had accumulated drop by drop. This was the only bun he had, purchased with borrowed money. Who could be as wretched as he? The gluttonous brother longed to collapse on the ground and weep until he could weep no more. Let him face social death. His heart had already perished, and life seemed unbearable. Just then, he heard a voice, as melodious as a celestial choir. "Do not be disheartened. I shall give you my bun." Following the sound, he beheld a figure illuminated against the light, surrounded by a gentle halo, as if adorned with a golden crown. In a daze, he momentarily envisioned an angel. Yet upon closer inspection, he realized the speaker was the director. The so-called halo was merely the sheen of sweat glistening on his bald head. For the sake of Fong'an District, The director was willing to sacrifice anything. A mere bun was nothing. He would gladly part with two. Of course, a part of him was curious. He had never tasted the buns made by Xiaolon. Had he done so, the decision might have been different. With a new bun in hand, the gluttonous brother was finally soothed, expressing his gratitude profusely. As he devoured it whole, a sense of relief washed over him, akin to the sun breaking through after a storm. His deceased heart revived, the pallor of despair fading. What once felt like a tempest transformed into a gentle breeze caressing his face. He experienced the exhilaration of swimming naked in the ocean, transcending humanity to become a fish. He shed the burdensome weight of gravity, gliding effortlessly through the water with the lithe grace of a creature of the sea. The buoyancy of the water lifted him, rendering him blissfully unaware of the passage of time. How exquisite, beyond articulation. This was the supreme pleasure that only the finest cuisine could bestow, the lifelong pursuit of a true Epicurean. As he opened his eyes, a newfound clarity enveloped him, for he realized that losing a mere watch, 2 mobile phones, 300 in cash, for bank cards, and 5 or 6 articles of clothing was but a trifling matter. For this affluent second-generation heir, it was akin to a fish losing a scale. Chapter 83. When did Xiaolon resign to plunge into the depths? He was surprisingly anxious, appearing utterly disoriented. In retrospect, it was merely a matter of reporting to the authorities. How could such trivialities tarnish the joy of savoring exquisite cuisine? Contemplating this, he gazed at Xiaolon with starry eyes. I heard you purchased a residence here. May I be so bold as to inquire which development it is? I too wish to acquire a unit in your community, so I can visit occasionally and patronize your business. The onlookers were left astounded, their jaws dropping in disbelief. Is this the power of a wealthy heir? To decide to buy a house over a single bun? Netizens reacted with shock. Wow. So the gourmet brother is truly a rich second generation. No way, is this for real? Is he acting? Is buying a house this casual? Gourmet brother, if you're being held against your will, just blink. Are you saying what the director is forcing you to say? We were previously worried you'd be skinned and dismembered in Feng'an district, and now you're contemplating buying a house, there just for a bun? Let us disperse. This is clearly a joint publicity stunt. I wondered why someone suddenly glorified a bun, while another group portrayed Feng'an district as hellish. The strategy of hype is all too clear. One side plays the villain while the other plays the hero, but in reality, it's all exaggerated. Huh? Even you officials are in on this traffic scheme. You've left people bewildered. But why do I feel it's genuine? As a longtime fan, I still believe in Gourmet Brother. Due to this sudden twist of events, the online discourse erupted with countless viewpoints and controversies. However, a plethora of discussions could be deemed a positive outcome. At least it was not a unanimous condemnation of Feng'an district, as it had been previously. Even if some deemed it a mere publicity stunt, it was preferable to the widespread belief that Feng'an was a den of thieves. Returning to reality, when Gourmet Brother posed his question, the others were filled with delight. The residents of Feng'an district were witnessing, for the first time, the spending power of tourists. My goodness. Any random visitor could nonchalantly drop the price of a house with a mere wave of their hand. If tourism increases in the future, it could undoubtedly stimulate the local economy in no time. The director, too, felt an immense relief. He had previously fretted over how to pacify the victim's emotions, but now, it seemed, a single bun had resolved everything. The only one who felt astonishment without a hint of joy was likely Xiaolon. In a hidden corner, his back was nearly soaked with perspiration. What a predicament. He had merely mentioned depleting his savings to buy a house on Feng'an New Street in passing. How had they taken it seriously? Oh no, to uphold this fabrication, must he truly purchase a property? Xiaolan's stuttering, to the eyes of others, appeared entirely justifiable. After all, it was quite normal not to wish to disclose his address in front of a crowd. The director, fearing further complications, hastily invited Gourmet Brother to the station. The experience of savoring steamed buns has come to a temporary conclusion. However, the police's efforts to apprehend the thieves have not faltered for a moment. They have long since arranged a comprehensive operation. The overwhelming barrage of trending news has instilled an unparalleled sense of pressure among the culprits. Coupled with the authoritative remarks of the chief, the lingering intimidation has left those involved in the theft trembling in fear. What truly terrifies them is not the prospect of arrest or imprisonment. Seasoned criminals like them have thoroughly scrutinized the law. They are acutely aware that sentences for theft are often lenient, particularly for petty thieves who do not target valuable items. Even if they were incarcerated, they would merely view it as a few years of free meals, emerging once again as free men without any psychological burden. What has genuinely instilled fear in them is the widespread notoriety of the incident, affecting the entire Feng'an district and inciting public disdain. Chapter 84 reveals an old man who resembles the father of the pig trotter vendor. If they were to secretly confess now, they might still evade detection. Aside from fugitives, the police seldom disclose the full names and appearances of criminals to the public, sharing such information only with close relatives. Thus, after confessing, even if they inexplicably vanished for a while, serving time, they could easily claim to have been working away from home, deflecting suspicion from their neighbors and paving a potential escape route for themselves. However, if the police were to come knocking at their doors, the situation would be drastically different. A personal visit from law enforcement would unmistakably signify guilt, and neighbors would undoubtedly take notice. Once the neighbors became aware, the news would swiftly spread throughout the entire Feng'an district. The repercussions of this incident have been so significant that the district has faced nationwide backlash, making it exceedingly difficult for anyone to navigate life there in the future. In the past, these thieves acted with such audacity because they thrived on a relatively lenient and indulgent societal attitude toward their kind. Now, however, a palpable shift has occurred. The atmosphere has changed. It is not uncommon to hear people on the streets seething with rage, lamenting that had it not been for the thieves targeting affluent individuals, prosperity would have already been theirs. Consequently, confessions began to emerge. Once one person took the initiative to surrender, others feared that their own confessions would come too late, leaving them vulnerable to betrayal. Rather than being sold out, they preferred to betray others. The number of those confessing grew exponentially. Witnesses, too, ceased to feign ignorance. Upon seeing individuals in police uniforms, they stepped forward voluntarily, sharing everything they had observed. Even those who had seen nothing felt compelled to name their suspicions. As a result, this case set a record for the swiftest resolution of a theft in the history of Feng'an District. In less than 3 hours, the truth was unveiled, and all stolen items were recovered. In a remarkable turn of events, when Tiao Gu retrieved his phone, he discovered it had been clearly formatted. Yet, in a bid to mitigate their culpability, the shop owners who aided in disposing of the stolen phones miraculously restored the crucial data from his device. With such technical prowess, one must question their motives for engaging in the sale of stolen goods. That very day, the police issued a public announcement online. In an official statement, it has been clarified that the host's belongings have been recovered, and all 15 suspects involved in the theft and trafficking have been apprehended. The announcement also includes reflections and self-critique, delivered with utmost sincerity. It can be said that all necessary actions have been taken and all pertinent words have been spoken. However, altering public perception cannot be resolved with a mere image of a notice. It is a gradual process. Fortunately, the crisis was managed swiftly, preventing further escalation of public sentiment and more detrimental repercussions. Moreover, there seems to be an unexpected benefit. That evening, the host initiated a live broadcast from the hotel, declaring, "I am not leaving. I intend to stay here for a while." Furthermore, he genuinely intends to purchase a property, stating he plans to contact a real estate agent the following day. The vendors, reluctant to divulge information, were met with inquiries about any insider knowledge. Given that the host exuberantly praised the exquisite handmade dumplings of Xiaolan during the broadcast, her dumplings have gained immense popularity. Internet users are expressing their curiosity, alternating between disbelief and eagerness to try them. Diverse opinions collide online, ultimately leading to a singular outcome. The events of the day are igniting fervor. It is unfathomable to consider how Xiaolan's business will fare tomorrow, as many netizens are already eager to sample her delicacies. I am in a neighboring city, just a 2-hour high-speed train ride away, and I am quite tempted to visit Feng'an District for some handmade dumplings. If I conceal my phone in my pants, will it still be stolen? Hiding it in your pants should prevent theft, but how do you plan to retrieve it? If I stash it in my socks, what will you do then? Local residents of Feng'an District, please provide a tutorial. We have a custom of sewing an inner pocket into our clothing, close to the chest, for safety. Regardless of the fervent discussions online, Xiaolan is currently resting in bed. He has submitted a brief report to Lao Lu regarding today's events and left it to him to contemplate the next steps. He is choosing to disregard other matters for now, prioritizing a deep slumber. Even the system notification that chimed was met with indifference. Ding. 5 Class C criminals have been apprehended. The capture was effective. Reward, 100,000 yuan and 1,000 points. Keep up the good work. Ding. 10 Class D criminals have been apprehended. The capture was effective. Reward, 50,000 yuan and 500 points. Keep up the good work. Xiaolan merely lifted his eyelids slightly, covered his ears, and paid no mind. The quantity of dumplings today was far from sufficient. Starting tomorrow, production must at least double, which implies a busy night ahead. While Xiaolan indulges in his restorative sleep, the director's remarks at the market have been transcribed and disseminated across online platforms. Each word resonates with genuine emotion, and when paired with the director's exasperated demeanor in the video, it has indeed touched many netizens. They have objectively remarked, Feng'an District is indeed in a dire state. Yet it has not reached an utterly hopeless point. At least the local government has not abandoned its efforts to improve the situation. Seeing that his words were not misinterpreted by netizens, the director breathed a palpable sigh of relief. When he spoke those words, he risked being reported and losing his job. Even those who have worked in customer service understand the importance of responding to customers with utmost caution, leaving no room for misinterpretation. One must always allow for a margin of error, so that if a mistake is made, it can be rectified. Otherwise, if one is caught in a slip, it could tarnish the entire company's reputation, leaving the customer service representative to bear the brunt of the consequences. As the chief of the police station, his statements in public demanded even greater prudence. Personal opinions should be expressed sparingly, if at all, lest they be misconstrued and exploited, potentially jeopardizing not only his position but also the image of the entire police force. Over time, the chief was compelled to adopt a bureaucratic demeanor, becoming accustomed to such rhetoric. However, this time, he could no longer contain his thoughts and chose to express them candidly. After all, it was the final year of his term, and if complaints arose, he could simply retire early. Fortunately, the outcome was favorable. It seemed that this time, we had the opportunity to transform a crisis into an opportunity. The owner of that handmade dumpling stall was truly a benefactor of our Fomin district. The chief took a satisfied sip of tea, shedding the imposing authority he exuded at the market, now radiating a benevolent aura. With a smile, he instructed, "You all should find a time to speak with the owner. See if there's any way we can assist him. Also, let us explore any governmental incentives that might apply to him. We must do everything we can to retain a talent like him in Fomin district. As long as his abilities are outstanding, we will provide him with the utmost convenience. I believe that before long, he will become a new emblem of Fomin district. And it is entirely possible that he could be recognized as one of the top 10 outstanding youths in Fonling City." As the chief indulged in his visions of a promising future for Fomin district, the assistant police chief felt compelled to interrupt this delightful reverie. "Chief, there is something I am uncertain whether to voice. Generally, those who pose such inquiries have thoughts better left unexpressed, so perhaps you should refrain." To his surprise, the chief, seasoned by experience, chose not to engage. The assistant, gathering his courage, insisted, "No, I must speak. Since it is necessary to say, why ask me at all? Just go ahead." He began to express his concerns about the handmade dumpling vendor's likelihood of remaining in Fomin district for the long term. However, before he could elaborate, the chief interjected with a furrowed brow, rebuffing him in rapid succession. "Why, can't you utter anything optimistic? Why so pessimistic? Do you think Fomin district lacks the means to retain him?" "Not at all," the assistant replied. "It's just that he is not originally from Fomin district." The chief, adopting a dismissive expression, retorted loudly, "I know. He returned from a big city, but he has stated that he has purchased a house in Fomin district. Isn't buying a house a step towards settling down? Once settled, he will gradually transfer his household registration here. And then he will indeed be a resident of Fomin district." The auxiliary police captain, noticing that the director was continually interrupting, grew anxious and hastened his speech, articulating all he wished to convey in one breath. "No, director, let me clarify. The proprietor of that handmade dumpling shop is none other than Comrade Xiaolan. He is the primary undercover officer dispatched by the Dongqing branch. Once he fulfills his mission, he must return. He cannot engage in business. He is still a police officer. And conducting business would violate regulations, unless one day he resigns and aspires to become a dumpling shop owner." After speaking for an extended period, the captain realized that the director was unresponsive. Assuming the director had not comprehended, he contemplated stepping closer to elucidate, only to find the director slumped despondently in his chair. 2 seconds later, a sound akin to a train whistle echoed from the director's office. "Is it over? Are you truly certain he is our undercover comrade? Please tell me you are jesting." Regrettably, the auxiliary captain could only offer a comforting pat on the director's back, followed by a piercing revelation. Comrade Xiaolan's assertion about purchasing a home and settling in Fomin district is also fabricated. It is merely a ruse for better camouflage. We cannot rely on him as our new calling card for Fomin district. He can assist us temporarily, but not indefinitely. We must ultimately depend on ourselves. The director silently crumbled under the weight of this reality, grappling with the inconceivable notion. Isn't he the only undercover officer with such remarkable skills? Was he perhaps intending to apply as a chef at the police station, but inadvertently became a police officer? Why didn't anyone alert me sooner? I nearly compromised our undercover comrade. The auxiliary captain swiftly dodged the blame cast by the director and retorted, "We only learned of this after visiting the market today. It was your directive that led us there. Your swift approach to converse with him left us no time to inform you." The team leader fell into a contemplative silence, a flicker of hope igniting within his somber eyes. "You mentioned that Comrade Xiaolan possesses such exceptional skills. Could it be possible that his aspirations do not lie in law enforcement? Perhaps he genuinely desires to engage in business and run a dumpling shop. Why not discreetly inquire about his intentions? If he truly harbors ambitions for commercial endeavors, he must not squander his talents elsewhere. Let him come directly to Fomin district. We could certainly facilitate his settlement through special talent recruitment. We could even arrange for him a residence in the New Street area." Alas, before they could approach Xiaolan with their inquiries, footage of him being overly amiable at the market reached the eyes of the officers at the city branch. Even with a mask obscuring his face, colleagues who had worked alongside him recognized him instantly. During lunch hour, they shared the video in a group chat, perplexedly questioning, "Isn't this Xiaolan, the one who makes the most delectable pig trotters in our department? When did he resign to pursue business?" Most in the department remained unaware that Xiaolan had returned to his undercover mission, and upon viewing the video, they remarked, "Truly unexpected, yet somehow predictable. His craftsmanship is so exceptional that if he were to engage in business, he would inevitably become a super-rich magnate. How many can resist the allure of wealth?" Upon viewing the video, Lao Lu felt a surge of anger. He immediately discerned that the director's public tasting of Xiaolan's buns was a blatant attempt to win him over and curry favor. Furious, Lao Lu typed in the group chat, "Nonsense. Xiaolan is one of us. Do not spread such rumors." Just as he was about to hit send, The video was suddenly retracted, attributed to the group leader. Wait a moment, isn't the group leader the chief? Rarely one to pay attention to group messages. He astonishingly commented, "Do not believe in rumors, do not spread them." Lao Lu felt as though he had found a savior and rushed to the chief to express his grievances. Xiaolan is a commendable comrade in our police station. He is sincere and solely wishes to serve the people. However, that director is clearly trying to entice him to remain in Feng'an district. You must not allow the director to succeed. How many young individuals can withstand the temptation of fame and fortune? To his surprise, the chief remained unfazed and simply stated, "I have already made a call to address the matter. If Xiaolan has thoughts of changing careers, that is beyond our control. However, public officials should not tempt other public officials to resign. Even merely inquiring can plant the seeds of temptation." Chapter 85. The suspect who had urged him has been sentenced to prison. Lao Lu immediately felt relieved. Yet, he was somewhat puzzled as to why the chief placed such importance on Xiaolan. Nevertheless, he refrained from voicing this curiosity, opting instead to mention what he deemed a more pressing matter. "Chief, I believe Xiaolan is indeed a talent. To retain such talent, we must offer additional benefits. Although he is still within his 1-year probationary period, considering his frequent tasks that require cooking, the kitchen in the intern dormitory is rather small. Perhaps we should apply for a dormitory with a larger kitchen, allowing him to move in sooner. I heard his family circumstances are modest, and the registered address is in the old urban village." Lao Lu assumed this proposal would be easily approved, as allocating dormitories is merely a matter of words. The police station has a canteen, rendering cooking unnecessary. Thus, a larger dormitory would be rather redundant for others. However, to his astonishment, the chief promptly dismissed his suggestion. "No need, just the standard allocation will suffice. Many young officers are unwilling to stay in dormitories and merely use them for napping during shifts. Moreover, Xiaolan's current residence is quite pleasant. He may not even care for the dormitory conditions." Whether it was a mere illusion, Lao Lu felt that the chief's demeanor darkened inexplicably when discussing the dormitory conditions. He couldn't help but lament internally that the leadership's concern often remained mere rhetoric. When it came time for action, there was little follow-through. Perhaps it was because Xiaolan was not a frontline detective that the chief did not regard him with particular significance. Suddenly, Lao Lu recalled the request made by the chief's father during their time in the hospital, expressing a desire to live with Xiaolan. He suddenly felt a shiver, as if a revelation had dawned upon him. "Director, could it be that Xiaolan has already moved into your home?" The director did not respond, merely casting a resentful glance in his direction. Instantly, Lao Lu fell silent. No wonder the director had not returned home even on weekends recently. He had assumed it was due to the director's increasing devotion to work, only to realize that his abode had been usurped, leaving him without a place to call home. An overwhelming wave of sympathy surged within him. Yet, upon further reflection, this sympathy morphed into jealousy. "Director, since Xiaolan is living with you, have you not considered the advantages of proximity?" The director wore an expression that conveyed utter bewilderment. Lao Lu hastily clarified, "What I mean is, Xiaolan's mastery of braised pig trotters is unparalleled, and his ability to create buns has attracted millions of internet celebrities. I can only imagine his culinary skills with other dishes must be exceptional as well. Since he resides with you, surely you ought to sample his creations. After all, your father is idle at home. Why not have him bring you meals daily? This way, you too can indulge." Upon hearing this, the director's face revealed a flicker of doubt and hesitation, which Lao Lu perceived as a glimmer of hope. Lao Lu continued, "Your father enjoys such splendid meals at home, while you feast on the cafeteria's offerings daily. Do you not feel envious? Are you not tempted?" Of course, he was tempted. The last time he savored the braised pig trotters and chicken feet, they had become frequent guests in Director N's dreams. Yet, the issue remained. His father would not agree to it. He was well aware of his father's cantankerous nature. While most fathers are like mountains, his father resembled a landslide. Throughout his childhood, his father was often absent, and upon returning home, he would invariably create trouble for him. He had lost count of the times he had taken the blame or cleaned up his father's mess. Often, he could not discern who was truly the son and who was the father, having never brought food to him during their youth. Would his father be willing to do so now that they were both of mature age? Chapter 86. Limiting to 10 buns. Is that enough to share? Lao Lu discerned the director's inner turmoil, yet continued to encourage him. "At the very least, you should make a phone call. What if your father is willing?" There are no fathers in this world who do not care for their children. Lao Lu was not genuinely eager to mend the director's father-son relationship. Rather, he was thinking that if the old man were willing to deliver meals to the director, he might have the opportunity to partake as well. Even a single bite would suffice. After much prodding from Lao Lu, the director reluctantly retrieved his phone and dialed. A minute later, the call ended. The director, now past his 30s, discreetly tightened his grip on the pen in his hand, his eyes sparkling with youthful joy and pride. "My father agreed. He will bring me meals every day." Who would have thought that after so many years, Director N could still experience a taste of paternal love? Remarkably, upon hearing the request for meals over the phone, his father did not hesitate and readily consented. He even mentioned that Xiaolan's cooking was beneficial for the stomach, aiding in the treatment of gastric issues. Previously, he had contemplated bringing meals to the director but refrained, having observed the director's apparent indifference towards food, prioritizing work above all else. Hearing human words from his father for the first time in weeks dissipated the lingering resentment that had clouded the director's mind. It was truly unexpected that Xiaolan's culinary creations could awaken the conscience of her father. In this light, it seems that lending the house to subordinates is not such a burdensome affair after all. Meanwhile, the workers in the electronic park began to take notice of the incident involving the theft of a streamer in Fomen District. They also stumbled upon a video circulating in the Pig Trotter Withdrawal Reaction Victims Alliance, featuring the cover of Xiaolan's Baozi stall. Before the individual who shared the video could utter a word, the group members had already embarked on a discussion. Why is it this video again? I've seen numerous different angles of it trending all day. Didn't they say it was just a publicity stunt, a performance? Who still believes this nonsense? Another group member chimed in. Indeed, it seems far too contrived. If braised pig trotters possess such power, I could believe it. But ordinary Baozi, inflated as if filled with ice. Ridiculous. A third member interjected. Haven't you seen the video of the stall owner making Baozi? The proprietor's skills are quite impressive. There might be something to it. While I doubt the Baozi are as extraordinary as everyone claims, they should be delicious. As the group continued their animated discussion, the individual who shared the video finally sent a message. Significant discovery. You must watch the video I shared. At 2 minutes and 35 seconds. An old man's figure flashes by. He resembles the father of the pig trotter's stall owner. The chat exploded with excitement, filled with exclamations of disbelief. Instantly, all conversation ceased as everyone hurried to view the video. Shortly after, several screenshots appeared in the chat, with some members highlighting key moments. It seemed indeed plausible. The old man bore a striking resemblance to the pig trotter's stall owner's father. I think it is him. I've seen him before. No other old man possesses such vigor. In the video, it was clearly captured that the old man was delivering Baozi skins and fillings to Xiaolan, inadvertently filmed by a passerby. While Xiaolan wore a mask, the old man did not. Fortunately, by the time he was filmed, he had distanced himself from the Baozi stall. Otherwise, even the most oblivious would have recognized that the Baozi vendor was indeed the pig trotter stall owner. In an instant, everyone in the group became akin to detectives. Yesterday, the stall owner's father appeared in Fomen District. Does that mean the pig trotter's vendor is also in Fomen District? My heavens, if he truly is. Regardless of whether Fomen District is a purgatory or a den of danger, I must venture there. Suddenly, amidst the crowd, one astute individual posed a theory. Could it be possible that the Baozi stall owner is the same person as the pig trotter's vendor? I feel like their physiques bear some resemblance. However, the group quickly dismissed this plausible answer. No way, absolutely not. The Baozi vendor isn't the one running the business with a dim-witted brother, is he? Our pig trotter's vendor works alongside his father. Moreover, how could their physiques possibly be similar? Please refrain from such assumptions. Our pig trotter's vendor is clearly slimmer and more handsome. At this moment, these victims have developed a form of Stockholm Syndrome, inexplicably harboring a fanatical admiration for Xiaolan, a figure they both love and loathe. Despite being the same person, they can still engage in disparaging remarks about her. Objectively speaking, the previous incarnation of Xiaolan was rather slender, whereas her current incarnation, selling buns, boasts a more robust physique. In the past, due to financial constraints and the rigorous training at the police academy, her caloric intake was woefully inadequate to match her energy expenditure. The original owner of this body was quite tall, appearing emaciated like a mere stick. However, since Xiaolan's arrival, the dietary standards for this body have undergone a remarkable transformation. With an ample intake of high-quality proteins and carbohydrates, her muscle mass has surged, and her weight has skyrocketed to 130 gene. Were it not for Xiaolan's continued high level of physical activity, her weight might have exceeded this figure. She has also utilized her points to purchase a health-enhancing apple, resulting in a physical condition that is incomparable to her past self. Undeniably, the present Xiaolan possesses a more graceful and appealing physique. Yet the inhabitants of the electronic park have elevated the pork trotter vendor to the status of a cherished icon. They may criticize her as heartless, unscrupulous, and irresponsible daily. Yet in comparative contexts, they exalt her to the heavens. If they were to lose sight of Xiaolan again, they would inevitably glorify her into a deity in their memories. Now that news of Xiaolan has finally emerged, everyone is eager to investigate. Tomorrow, I have a day off, and coincidentally, my home is in the eastern suburbs, quite close to Fomen District. I have decided to visit the market tomorrow. Who wishes to accompany me? I must forewarn you, however, that I cannot guarantee safety. Everyone has heard about the chaos in Fomen District, so if we go there, we must be mentally prepared for potential theft. As soon as the invitation was sent out, a response came almost immediately. I am not afraid. I must go. I must find that lawn person. Exactly, I want to go too. Recently, I have been dreaming of pork trotters every night, and I wake up with a damp pillow. Time ticked away. The moon yawned, preparing for slumber. Before departing, it gave the sun a gentle slap, urging it to rise and commence its duties. Thus, the sun, with a face still flushed from the slap, began a new day of rotation. On the fourth day of the stall, Xiaolan once again cycled along that road, which is typically obstructed by a massive branch. Today, however, was different. The branch had been moved to the roadside, and several men and women were admonishing the old lady and her son, gripping their collars firmly. The cold wind carried their voices to Xiaolan's ears. Do you lack morals? Every day, you block the road and steal. Young and able-bodied. Why not go work on a construction site instead of coming here to obstruct the road with stones and branches? Try blocking the road again tomorrow. You have brought disgrace upon Fenghan district with your idle ways. Today, the son of that elderly lady was not swift enough in his escape and was apprehended. Thoroughly frightened. I'm sorry, my dear brother, my mother is elderly. Please do not scare her. The elder sibling was not swayed by this plea and brandished a fist as large as a sandbag. Now you acknowledge your mother's age? Every time you find yourself in trouble, you flee, leaving your mother to bear the consequences alone, and yet you feign ignorance regarding her age? Let me tell you, madam, your son is simply asking for a beating. If you are too lenient, he will inevitably face the wrath of others. When he is beaten to a pulp, you will regret it. The lady repeatedly begged for mercy, crying and pretentiously kneeling. Ultimately, the group refrained from physically attacking him, merely warning him while pointing a finger. If I catch you again, just wait and see. I tell you, there are only a few roads in Fenghan district. Each time I see you, I will strike you. Xiaolan inexplicably felt a surge of emotions. It appeared that someone had encountered a formidable opponent. It was rare to witness justice being served in Fenghan district. Perhaps this place was indeed undergoing a transformation. This time, Xiaolan was fortunate enough to continue driving without stopping. Leah C., in the back seat, was thoroughly entertained, unable to suppress his applause. Well said. It was high time for him to be reprimanded. Stealing my paper and making his own mother take the blame. Xiaolan was speechless. It seemed that the incident of the stolen paper would linger in Leah C.'s memory for a lifetime. Finally arriving at the intersection, Xiaolan looked up in astonishment. Goodness, why are there so many people today? He had anticipated a crowd, but was taken aback by the sheer number. Leah C. was equally stunned. Is it a tourist group? But what kind of tour group would disembark at an intersection? As Xiaolan and Leah C. were engrossed in discussion, suddenly the crowd spotted him and waved frantically. Boss, come quickly, we've been waiting for you. They waved their hands vigorously, as if trying to dislodge them from their wrists. Xiaolan instinctively glanced behind him, then pointed to himself. Are you all waiting for me? Yes, we're waiting for you. The crowd chimed in unison. We couldn't buy buns yesterday and heard you would set up a stall at the intersection. So we specifically came today to purchase. Boss, why are you only arriving at this hour? It's nearly 6 o'clock. The chickens have been working for 2 hours already. Even the donkeys of the production team wouldn't dare rest like you. Behind their masks, they could not see the twitching corners of Xiaolan's mouth. No matter where he went, he could not escape the fate of being urged to set up his stall. He pondered whether among those urging him this time, there might still be a suspect. The last suspect who had prompted him to set up was already in prison, courtesy of Xiaolan. Without further ado, Xiaolan hastily exited the vehicle and set up his stall to steam buns. Today, he had deliberately chosen a location further from the intersection, as the queue was excessively long, and he did not wish to disrupt the normal flow of traffic. Once he had finished his preparations and looked up, he discovered that the line had extended over 10 meters. Among the queue were several familiar faces, including the woman leading a group of elder sisters. Instead of practicing swordplay today, they had opted for a fan dance. Each individual clutches a large fluorescent fan, still remarkably eye-catching. Those unaware might mistake this for a performance troupe summoned by Xiaolan to promote the Baozi stall. They arrived exceptionally early today, having endured an excruciating wait yesterday. Rather than compete with the working crowd, they chose to purchase their Baozi before the office workers began their day. Among the queue was Zhou Haochuan, who typically would not awaken before 10 in the morning. His presence here at this hour was not due to overcoming the challenges of early rising, but rather a choice to stay awake through the night. He intended to buy Baozi, eat them, and then return to sleep. While awaiting the steaming of the Baozi, Xiaolan shared the rules with everyone. Due to the limited quantity of Baozi and at the request of numerous customers, each person was restricted to purchasing 10. The prices were posted on the announcement board, and payment was to be made prior to collecting the Baozi. Furthermore, in consideration of customers pressed for time, an additional green channel was opened. Those not in a hurry were to queue on the left, while those in a rush were to form a line on the right. After announcing the rules, Xiaolan recalled his seemingly feudal customer group. In his previous pig-trotter group, he at least set up an announcement. This new group had not seen his presence at all, and he could not show favoritism. Thus, he edited his earlier remarks into a group announcement and disseminated it. The group erupted in chaos. An hour later, the newly awoken Qin Gaojia picked up his phone, bombarded by shocking news. What? A limit of 10 Baozi per person. With 5 adopted children, he would need to buy 20, and including his own portion, he would require at least 4. 10 Baozi would scarcely suffice for sharing. This must be aimed at me. Regardless, self-preservation was paramount. Qin Gaojia swiftly composed himself and informed the group of his adopted children about this alarming news. Important announcement. Important announcement. Due to the implementation of purchase limits at the Baozi source, the previous allowance of 4 per person has now been revised to 1 per person. Please arrange additional meals according to your appetite in advance. After delivering the bad news, Qin Gaojia added a silver lining. Moreover, the purchasing quota has increased from 5 to 6, with 1 spot still available today. First come, first served. Shortly after the news spread, The group was filled with lamentations. Help! This world truly is a vast pit. I've become addicted. For Bowsy are insufficient. How could one possibly suffice? Is there any difference from when I first got into web literature, where the author updated daily with 10,000 words, only to later reduce it to one chapter? This is a matter of life and death. Fine, fine. Eat 10 kilograms of feed, only to deserve 1 pound of grass, is it? Frantically losing composure, I understand now. I comprehend. Rolling and jumping. This world is merely a colossal breeding ground for cattle and horses. Ha! Fully corrupted. Cheen Dad, I beg you. Please share the Bowsy shop's address with us. We will purchase them ourselves. This way, everyone can buy 10, and we can each share one to honor you. Why not sever my head and send it to you? When you purchase buns, you could carry my head along. Would that count as a spot? Regardless of the collective refusal to accept this reality, it has become an immutable fact, one that even Cheen Gaojia cannot alter. Within the entire group, only one individual finds joy, the one who, having failed to secure a spot yesterday during the dice roll, unexpectedly receives an additional opportunity today. Little does he know that every gift fate bestows comes with a hidden price tag. Joy is but fleeting, while the future's endless longing remains eternal. The depth of the buns is as vast as the sea, and from now on, moderation is merely a passerby. Chapter 88. Are these leaders truly so pliable? Despite having prepared mentally for the throngs at the bun stall after watching yesterday's trending video, Cheen Gaojia was still taken aback by the overwhelming number of customers. He had left home a full half-hour early, yet nearly arrived late due to the queue. Fortunately, Xiao Lan had arranged a green passage. Otherwise, he would have surely missed out today. Upon crossing the street, he couldn't resist glancing back at the bun stall, where he envisioned the future restoration of order in Fengmen District. In the past, no matter how many green passages were established, a large crowd would invariably lead to chaos. Occasionally, those who cut in line would react with anger when confronted, shouting louder than those they had displaced, as if they were the aggrieved party. Yet, under Xiao Lan's influence, everyone genuinely queued without encroaching on the green passage. This scene was truly remarkable, something Cheen Gaojia had never witnessed in his over 20 years in Fengmen District. He looked at Xiao Lan, recalling the words of the Fengmen police chief in yesterday's trending video. Could this place truly transform due to the mere presence of a bun stall? With no time for further contemplation, he hastened his pace. If he didn't run, he would be tardy. Unbeknownst to Cheen Gaojia, prior to his arrival at the bun stall, someone had already been reprimanded for forcibly occupying the green passage. This individual was a notorious slacker from the old street. His wife sold vegetables in the morning, tended to a grocery stall during the day, and sold balloons in the park at night. This slacker claimed to be out seeking business daily. However, everyone knew he merely spent his mornings in the mahjong parlor, playing all day long. Occasionally, when funds ran low, he would ask his wife for money at the market. His wife was exasperated, as kind-hearted souls informed her of her husband's lazy antics. She would respond that he only indulged in small wagers for pleasure and had never become excessively reckless, unlike other men who engaged in all manner of vices. When told that he had visited a brothel, she would simply say that the women outside were but temporary distractions. A wife is a man's true home. And his daily return home indicated his affection for her. What could outsiders say? They could only endure for a moment, and in doing so, they could endure a lifetime. If one can withstand hardship, a lifetime of suffering will inevitably follow. To return to the main topic. This slothful man happened upon Xiao Lan's Bowsy stall while asking his wife for money at the market yesterday. He couldn't resist and bought one, paying 10 yuan for a meat bun without a flicker of hesitation. After savoring it, he spent the entire day reminiscing about the taste. By nightfall, his cravings kept him awake, prompting him to play mahjong instead. He ended up playing through the night, and upon his return the next day, he fortuitously spotted Xiao Lan setting up her stall again. Without a second thought, he approached her. His gaze swept over the crowd, noting a shorter line on one side and a longer one on the other. He decisively opted for the shorter line, ignoring Xiao Lan's pleas to leave the green passage on the right for the time-pressed office workers. How absurd. He should be grateful to queue at all, let alone choose the longer line. Yet, his nonchalant demeanor was quickly discerned by the other customers. Hey, that line is for those in a hurry. If you're not pressed for time, you should be in our line, one customer pointed out. The slothful man lazily scratched his nose and replied, I'm in a hurry. This infuriated those waiting in line, as his lethargic demeanor belied any notion of urgency. How can you claim to be in a rush while ambling about like that? If you don't feel like queuing, at least act like you do. We might overlook it, another customer suggested. Look at all of us patiently waiting. Your actions are quite inconsiderate. Despite their friendly reminders, the slothful man, accustomed to his shameless ways, refused to feign compliance. You all can queue if you wish. I certainly won't, he declared, swaggering forward. Those who overheard him shot him furious glares. An older woman recognized him and unleashed a torrent of insults. You're that lazy, good for nothing. Always conning your wife into providing for you. All you do is eat and complain, with not a single honest word to say. Here I am, an old woman queuing. While you, are your limbs deteriorating, or is your brain shrinking? Can standing in line really cause you such distress? When I get the chance, I'll give your father a few slaps for raising such a disgrace. In her anger, She even considered removing her shoes to strike him. Startled by her ferocity, the slothful man hastily took a few steps back. The woman continued to curse, but did not pursue him, unwilling to abandon her hard-earned place in line. However, the slothful man could not find solace, as the queue was ignited with indignation, each passerby hurling insults at him. As he hurried along, he felt the spray of saliva dampening his clothes. Just 3 steps away from Xiaolan's stall, a burly man resembling a black bear suddenly emerged from the line and shoved him back several meters with a powerful swipe. Get in line. In the face of such overwhelming force, words became superfluous. There was no need for reasoning. A fist was the only truth that mattered. The slothful man's expression changed, and he dared not utter a word. He recoiled, scurrying away, abandoning the thought of purchasing a baozi altogether. The robust man, resembling a black bear, exhibited a hint of bashfulness after expelling the patrons. He flashed a smile at Xiaolan, revealing 2 deep dimples, which promptly dissipated his menacing aura, leaving behind an air of amiable bear-like charm. My apologies, vendor, he said. I merely wished for him to queue. It was never my intention to chase away your customers. Allow me to compensate for the inconvenience by purchasing an additional 10 buns, including his share. Upon hearing this, the onlookers initially perceived the black bear as quite honest. However, the subsequent words struck them with a realization. The true honest individual was, in fact, themselves. Chapter 89. A lifetime ban on purchasing buns. This bear was cunning indeed. His self-imposed penalty of 10 buns was akin to a drunkard's self-punishment of 3 drinks. I posed this question to everyone present. Who wouldn't he wish to take his place and endure such a punishment? The crowd refrained from exposing his ruse. They recognized his insatiable craving for buns, yet he articulated it with such peculiar finesse. To their astonishment, Xiaolan nodded in agreement. Very well. You require a total of 20, correct? What flavors would you like for your buns? The black bear could hardly fathom that his casual remark would materialize into reality. He erupted into a broad grin, his eyes squinting with sheer delight. Meat buns. I desire all 20 to be meat buns. With a sweeping gesture of his paw, his voice thundered, echoing through the street, radiating his exuberance. The others in line felt a pang of envy, their hearts brimming with jealousy. A few equally robust individuals lamented, kicking the ground in frustration. Had they known they could have simply confronted the slacker, they might have succeeded in driving him away. Who could have guessed that by ousting the unruly customer, they could seize his bun purchasing privilege? Had the vendor disclosed this earlier, countless others would have rushed forth to confront the slacker. Thus, as the scene unfolded, every individual in line began to keenly observe each patron utilizing the express lane. Should they catch anyone attempting to exploit the situation, they would undoubtedly become the champions of justice. Even those who had already procured their buns lingered, waiting for the opportunity to catch a rule-breaking big fish. The reward for such an endeavor? 10 buns, purchased at their own expense, under the scrutiny of countless gazes. Only those genuinely pressed for time could disregard the intense stares of the crowd and hasten through the express lane. Those with ample time dutifully returned to the end of the line. In the blink of an eye, Qin Gaojie had arrived at the company. While awaiting the elevator, he sent a message to the group chat. His colleagues promptly gathered in the small conference room, eagerly anticipating his arrival. They had employed this strategy yesterday with great success, spending a mere 10 minutes sharing and savoring the buns, while simultaneously activating the air conditioning to disperse the aroma. Despite the chilling air, they reveled in the joy that the food brought, disregarding any physical discomfort. Today, with only 1 bun available, they anticipated a quicker consumption, allowing for a shorter exposure to the cold, just as they were indulging in their delightful meal. The electrochromic glass wall beside them suddenly transitioned from a milky hue to complete transparency. The 7 individuals froze mid-bite. Looking up, one could see a room filled with a dense crowd of individuals, separated only by a glass partition. The room was teeming with middle management, some faces familiar, others unknown, all gazing intently in their direction. To make matters worse, the electric glass wall in the center was slowly sliding open, seamlessly connecting the 2 conference rooms. Qin Gaojie nearly dropped the bun in his mouth, bewildered by the presence of people next door. It made no sense. Typically, meetings were scheduled for no earlier than 9:30, with 10 o'clock being the norm. Yet, it was only 9 o'clock. Moreover, how could there be no sound emanating from the adjacent room? The 2 conference rooms were merely separated by a layer of glass, with a sliding door that was not entirely soundproof. Any noise from next door should have been audible here. Confusion flooded his mind. But this was not the moment for contemplation. Qin Gaojie quickly tugged at his bewildered subordinates, signaling them to prepare for an exit. My apologies for intruding on your meeting. Please, continue, they murmured in unison, hastily stuffing the remaining buns into their mouths as they made their way out. To their surprise, the leader of the technical department called out to them, Wait, our meeting has not yet commenced. We came early specifically to await you. Before Qin Gaojie could process this, the predatory gazes of the assembled leaders revealed everything. They were here to catch the unsuspecting intruders. Having successfully cornered 7 thieving rabbits, the leaders were exhilarated. Unable to contain their grievances, it was worth our hour-long wait. We finally discovered the source of the tantalizing aroma that lingered for hours yesterday. It was indeed the buns that had captivated their senses. No wonder he couldn't fathom what could smell so divine. Amidst the leader's animated complaints, Qin Gaojia pieced together the underlying truth. It turned out that the day before, there had been a significant meeting in the adjacent room, scheduled from 9:30 a.m. to 2:00 p.m., with only half an hour allocated for lunch. Almost immediately after Qin Gaojia and his team finished their buns, a dozen middle managers entered the conference room. Upon entering, they were greeted by an overwhelming scent of meat. One could only imagine the struggle they endured that morning. To ventilate and disperse the aroma, they would have to turn on the air conditioning. However, given it was winter, heating was essential for warmth. Consequently, during the meeting, anyone who was called to speak had to swallow hard after each sentence, lest they inadvertently spray the screen. To maintain decorum, everyone endeavored to minimize their contributions. By the end of the morning, this meeting had set a record for the longest duration with the fewest speakers in company history. Lunchtime proved equally futile, despite feeling ravenous. They could barely eat. Ultimately, the meeting concluded in silence, with only the word delicious occupying their thoughts, leaving no substantial discussions in its wake. Thus, they resolved to schedule another meeting for the following day at 10:00 a.m. Little did they anticipate that everyone would arrive an hour early, united in their quest to apprehend the source of the alluring fragrance. Now they have finally realized the truth. It turns out it was someone from your department. You understand what needs to be done, don't you? All the middle management have turned their accusatory gazes towards the head of the technology department, who oversees both Team 1 and Team 2. With a grave expression, he stood up, embodying the demeanor of someone preparing to confront. The 7 rabbits, guilty of indulging in the buns, were thrown into a panic. However, a few of the loyal ones displayed their courage, standing resolutely in front of Qin Gaojia. Fear not, Qin father, we shall bear the brunt together. We will certainly protect you. They had all steeled themselves for a noble sacrifice, only to be taken aback when the team leader asked, "Where did you purchase these buns? Is it possible to order takeout? Please send me the shop link." The group was momentarily stunned. This was a question they had not anticipated. Wasn't he the leader there to hold them accountable? Why was there silence? You aren't intentionally tempting us, are you? We were all restless last night, unable to sleep, haunted by the delicious aroma. They urged for the shop's name, hoping to consider it for their next departmental gathering. Surely, they didn't only sell buns, right? The leader's words ignited a fervor among them. The thought of indulging in buns during a team-building event was almost too delightful to imagine. One by one, they unconsciously cast their glances towards the figure of Qin Gaojia. The leader, catching on to this unspoken communication, promptly inquired, "Gaojia, you know where the bun shop is, don't you? What is the name of the establishment?" At that moment, nearly 40 pairs of eyes were fixed upon him. In such circumstances, it seemed he had no choice but to respond. These buns were the same ones that had been trending the day before. They were sold at a stall in the old street market of Fomen district, without a proper storefront. However, the trending news had not mentioned that the bun vendor also set up shop at the old street intersection in the morning. As fate would have it, I passed that way on my daily commute. For reasons unbeknownst to him, once Qin Gaojia revealed this information, he felt an inexplicable sense of relief. Perhaps it was the realization that this secret could not remain hidden forever. No matter how discreet he attempted to be, there would inevitably come a day when the team leader would inadvertently divulge the truth. Embracing the notion of letting go, Qin Gaojia lifted his gaze to gauge the reactions of those around him. Upon hearing the words Fomen district, the faces of many transformed dramatically. Several individuals hastily pulled out their phones, typing furiously, seemingly reluctant to vocalize their thoughts in his presence. Even his loyal companions could not conceal their disappointment, each averting their eyes and retreating into their devices. A bitter sensation began to creep into Qin Gaojia's heart. It appeared that his position was becoming increasingly untenable. Chapter 90, risking life and limb to live stream for everyone suddenly. He heard one of his loyal companions stomp their foot in frustration. How can Fomen district be in the east suburbs? I reside in the west suburbs. It's so far. I'm doomed. Moments later, another person angrily shut off their phone screen, exclaiming, "Damn it. Why can't my commuting route pass by the old street intersection? It must be a fault in the mapping software." Bang. A leader seated at the table suddenly slammed his palm down on the surface. Why? Without the option for takeout, is it impossible to rely on a personal errand runner for purchases? Why is no one willing to accept the task? I had even offered a service fee of 40 yuan. Another leader, in a fit of frustration, lamented, "If I were to drive to your location, it would be out of my way and I would encounter traffic, rendering me unable to make the purchase. Does this mean I am deprived of the chance to savor the delicacy?" In an instant, the room resonated with regretful murmurs, filled with stomping feet and pounding fists. Qin Gaojia stood frozen, taken aback. The foremost concern among everyone seemed to be the feasibility of acquiring dumplings, while no one appeared to consider that Qin Gaojia resided in Fomen district. Yet, that was not entirely true. Once the realization dawned upon them that they had no means to procure dumplings that morning, all eyes turned towards Qin Gaojia. Such gazes were all too familiar to him. Members of the technical department often looked at him with that same longing, akin to drowning individuals fixating on a solitary lifeline. It was a mix of urgency and fervor. Qin Gaojia instinctively took a step back, startled. As he retreated, the entire assembly surged forward. Gaojia, you live in Fenghan District, right? Are you buying breakfast tomorrow? If so, could you kindly procure an order for me? I want one too. I'll offer you 50 for your trouble. What do you think? I mean no harm. I just wish to taste it. Adoptive father, you cannot disregard our plight. I cannot go without dumplings. What hope would remain for my life? We must adhere to the established rules. Have you forgotten the dice-rolling regulations you set? We must respect the order of precedence. Our technical department is the legitimate offspring. Thus, the cacophony of lamentations persisted for quite some time. Ultimately, it was a single proclamation from Qin Gaojia that quelled the uproar. Due to the recent surge in popularity, dumplings are now subject to a purchase limit of 10 per person per day. I require 4 for my breakfast, leaving only 6 to be divided among a maximum of 6 individuals. The room full of leaders finally grasped why the number of individuals accompanying Qin Gaojia was precisely 6. It was due to the purchasing restriction. 10 minutes later, upon returning to his workstation, Qin Gaojia observed the group chat titled Qin Dad and his adopted sons and daughters, now containing a dozen more participants. For a moment, he felt as though this world was unreal. Were these leaders truly so accommodating? Would they join a group chat simply for a bite to eat? But more importantly, who had invited the leaders to join? Qin Gaojia had not extended an invitation to them. They had been brought in, yet at the very least, the group name should have been changed in advance. Just as he pondered what new name to assign, an astute individual in the chat had already resolved the dilemma. The new group name was Greatness, no words needed. Such flattery, subtle yet blatant, was displayed in full measure. Qin Gaojia was left speechless. He had anticipated that they would exhibit a degree of aloofness due to his residence in Fenghan District. To his surprise, they clung to him tighter than ever. Perhaps their reaction was motivated by the dumplings, or perhaps it was a matter of face. Regardless of the reason, it no longer mattered. Qin Gaojia had expressed his thoughts, feeling an unexpected relief in voicing them rather than harboring them in silence. What others thought was of no consequence to him. Moreover, he sensed that Fenghan District might have discovered a remedy for its persistent afflictions. Perhaps one day, Fenghan District would be healed, transforming from a source of collective shame into a cherished hometown that everyone could take pride in. Meanwhile, at Xiaolan's stall, a lively scene was unfolding. Initially, it was Xiaolan who noticed the crowd growing as people queued up, and suddenly, the food cart lit up with a vibrant hue. This red was not bright, but deeper than a mere blush, piquing his interest. His gaze zeroed in on a woman standing just a meter away. Her hair a disheveled mess. Could she be a thief? Had a rogue infiltrated their midst? Yet, she had made it this far in line. If she were indeed a thief, she would have likely struck and fled by now. The woman, engrossed in her phone, had not glanced at Xiaolan, leaving him unable to discern her intentions through her demeanor. The food cart could only suggest the presence of ill intent, but could not specify the nature of the wrongdoing. How splendid it would be if the cart could indicate the crimes committed. Perhaps a future upgrade could be explored. As Xiaolan pondered this, the disheveled woman approached the stall. 10 meat buns, she stated, while scanning the payment code. After a few taps on her screen, she flipped her phone to show Xiaolan the payment page displaying a sum of 100 yuan. Everything seemed in order. Typically, at this juncture, Xiaolan would swiftly grab a bag, while the ASI simultaneously packed buns, each taking 5 to enhance efficiency. However, with the cart's warning lingering in his mind, Xiaolan felt uneasy. He deliberately refrained from moving, allowing the ASI to handle the packing while he scrutinized the woman. Feeling his gaze, the woman seemed somewhat uncomfortable and subtly turned her face away. Here you go. Li ASI's booming voice resonated, and the woman, hearing it as if it were a divine call, reached for the buns and prepared to leave. Xiaolan furrowed his brow, wanting to call out to her, but lacking a valid reason to do so. Just then, a vigilant ant behind the woman seized her wrist, exclaiming joyfully, "Huh? I've caught you." The ant's tone was exuberant, as if she had just uncovered a new world, drawing curious glances from those nearby. The woman, now caught, turned pale and desperately attempted to free herself from the ant's grip. "Let go of me. What are you doing, you nosy busybody?" Her words betrayed her guilt, and her face was etched with a desire to escape the scene post-haste. Unfazed, the ant continued to shout with her piercing voice, "I am a proud woman. I pay for my purchases with integrity. Unlike you, trying to weasel out of paying for your buns." The woman's expression shifted dramatically. "What do you mean? I paid," she retorted, having shown the stall owner the proof. "Don't slander me." The ant remained undeterred. She would not have dared to confront the woman without possessing the evidence to back her claims. "Stop pretending, my dear. I witnessed you meticulously sifting through your album, searching for the screenshot of your payment completion. Am I correct? 10 buns for 100 yuan, yet you only found a single payment record of 50 yuan. However, your greed compelled you to alter that 50 into 100. I recorded the entire incident." It was only at this moment that the woman comprehended the significance of privacy screens. Who would have thought that every move of hers was clearly observed by those behind her? In fact, she had been engaging in this practice for over 6 months. Rarely faltering, this method was learned from others. Initially, she would take a screenshot after completing a purchase. Subsequently, when acquiring items at the same price, she feigned scanning the payment, merely retrieving the screenshot from her album. Once she mastered basic photo editing on her phone, her audacity grew. Provided she knew what she intended to buy in advance, She could edit the image on the spot and utilize it immediately. Vendors with thriving businesses, overwhelmed and distracted, seldom scrutinized her actions. Her tactic was, without exaggeration, foolproof. Naturally, over the past 6 months, she had encountered a few slip-ups. However, the shop owners, seeing her disheveled appearance, presumed she was facing hardships and often showed her leniency. Some owners would let her go, accepting the mistake, while others would gently remind her that her payment had not gone through, urging her to scan again. She had encountered the most unpleasant of shopkeepers, who would simply snatch the items back and expel her. Rarely did anyone consider involving the authorities. People had grown accustomed to quick and convenient settlements, viewing police involvement as an overreaction. Yet today, for reasons unknown, passers-by were relentless, insisting on escorting her to the police station. An elderly woman, seeing others join in, raised her voice. "You have the audacity to retrieve the payment record, do you? I wager you dare not. I can guarantee that as soon as you unlock your phone, it will reveal the screenshot." The woman bit her lip, and in the frigid winter, beads of cold sweat dampened the hair on her forehead. The elderly woman's assumption was correct. Before the screen went dark, her phone displayed the album's screenshot page. Once unlocked, the evidence would be irrefutable. Her hand was grasped, leaving her unable to immediately rectify her payment. Xiaolon, witnessing this scene, suddenly understood. Chapter 91. Is the bun vendor somewhat akin to the pig trotter stall owner? He had been careless. The woman had only shown him the payment page for a fleeting moment, and he had deemed the amount satisfactory, thus disregarding it. Even when the electronic voice confirming payment had not sounded, he assumed it was merely a delay or a malfunction, never contemplating it further. Little did he know that her inept techniques had allowed this woman to succeed repeatedly. Observing the crimson light, it was clear she was a habitual offender. The accumulated amounts were sufficient for a conviction. The woman had surrendered all resistance, softly pleading for mercy. Yet, none of those present wished to minimize the situation. All were intent on delivering her to the police station. Some had already called the authorities and, with a sense of self-importance, turned to Xiaolon, saying, "Boss, I have participated in the apprehension, haven't I? May I purchase an additional 10 buns?" Several individuals nearby, who had previously voiced their support, chimed in, addressing Xiaolon. "Boss, someone like her, who engages in such nefarious deeds, should be stripped of her right to buns for life. Let us fill the void of her unpurchased quotas." Upon hearing this, the elderly woman instantly comprehended the reason behind the multitude of righteous voices. It was not genuine righteousness, but rather a simple desire to partake in the spoils. She hurriedly interjected, frantically waving one arm. "Boss, I was the first to catch her. I possess all the incriminating evidence. Others must not be allowed to snatch away my hard-earned victory." Xiaolon was taken aback, and the woman, whose hair resembled a tangled mess of straw, was equally stunned. She could never have imagined that this group was after her merely to exchange her buns. Had she known, she would have refrained from coming to this stall, believing that the crowd's size would provide her with a shield. Little did she anticipate that the throng would be so keen-eyed, with 7 or 8 hunters focused solely on her as their prey. A collective gaze fixed upon Xiaolon, awaiting her verdict. The naive Xiaolon, lacking in experience, could only make a judgment based on instinct. "Madam, you may purchase 10 additional buns." Those who assisted in reporting her can each buy 1. With the incidents of queue jumping and faux payments, the fervor of the crowd could hardly be contained. Even if Xiaolon were to relocate her stall to the vegetable market, this group would follow closely behind. Despite the fact that they no longer had any quotas for purchasing buns, none were willing to depart. They resembled stray dogs lingering by a butcher's stall, hoping for a few discarded bones. Naturally, they realized that Xiaolon was not a butcher, and buns were not mere bones to be tossed aside. They simply yearned for another villain to capture. In the span of a single morning, a novel trading system emerged in Feng'an district. 1 villain equates to 10 buns. Thus, a throng of individuals trailed behind Xiaolan's tricycle, jogging towards the vegetable market. Whether it was merely an illusion or not, upon arriving at the market, an unusually eerie tranquility enveloped the surroundings, heightened by the sheer number of people present. Typically, it is only during festive seasons when workers and students return home that the market bustles with such a crowd. Yet now, with a month still to go before New Year's Day, how could there be so many unfamiliar faces? These strangers wore expressions of wariness, tightly bundling themselves in their coats, vigilant against any potential threats. They cast suspicious glances at every passerby, refusing to allow anyone to draw near, answering no inquiries and remaining taciturn. It wasn't until Xiaolon appeared at the entrance of the market that someone shouted, shattering the silence. "She is here. The handmade bun vendor has arrived." In an instant, the entire assembly of strangers turned in unison, as if a remote control had been activated. The next moment, akin to a magical transformation, they produced selfie sticks or handheld gimbals from their chests, waists, backpacks, thighs, calves, and socks. They then clamped their tightly held smartphones into place, forming a complete live-streaming apparatus, directing the lens squarely at Xiaolon. Until this moment, the local talents at the market had finally comprehended the true identities of these strangers. They appeared to be an assemblage of streamers. Amidst the throng, one individual, seemingly overwhelmed, muttered, "Goodness, I thought they were all undercover police. They looked so serious that I hardly dared to breathe, only to discover they are merely streamers. I was terrified. Just moments ago, I felt something hard and cold in someone's pocket, and I thought it was a gun, but it turned out to be a selfie stick. Xiaolon finally recognized the genuine power of trending topics. She had assumed the crowd at the intersection was sizable. Yet the old street market turned out to be the epicenter of activity. It was only logical. The trending topic never mentioned the intersection, so only locals with insider knowledge ventured there. Meanwhile, outsiders, having seen the trending topic, hurried to Feng'an district overnight, arriving precisely at this bustling market at the right moment. Perhaps even more were still en route. Among this group of streamers, some had brought teams along. Within the team, some were tasked with setting up tripods, while others attended to the female streamer's makeup. Soon, the female streamer shed her thick down jacket, donned a light windbreaker, and appeared on camera, with the backdrop perfectly capturing Xiaolon riding her bicycle. Dear viewers, I am currently in Feng'an district, indeed the very place that trended yesterday. Look, behind me is the famous handmade dumpling vendor, who is preparing to set up his stall. Shortly, we shall sample his dumplings. Please, dear viewers, give me a thumbs up. The streamer is here risking her life to broadcast for you all. In a soft, melodious voice, she spoke, while not far off, another male streamer, with a contrasting style, bellowed, "Hey folks, double tap 666. The dumpling vendor is right at the entrance. I'm not deceiving anyone. I truly risked my life to come here and debunk the rumors." The previously tranquil market had instantaneously transformed into a sea of live broadcasts. Every meter or so, another streamer addressed the camera. Each one exhibited remarkable confidence, proclaiming their fear of danger, yet their voices grew louder with each passing moment. A youthful male streamer spoke into the camera. Is there really a lot of crime in Feng'an district? Let me respond to a viewer's query. Honestly, at first, I thought there was indeed a considerable amount. Upon entering the market, I sensed the wary glances directed at me. Everyone seemed suspicious. I assumed they were all thieves, only to find out they thought I was one. The market was bustling with outsiders, each one on guard against others. Presently, there were more outsiders than locals. Another female streamer, sporting a short haircut and a bunny-eared beanie, sweetly stated, as a streamer conducting first-hand research, it seems Feng'an district is not as terrifying as portrayed online. Just moments ago, I was struggling to locate the old street market, wandering aimlessly with my map, and before I could even ask for directions, a local enthusiastically guided me. And they were quite accurate. Additionally, a bald man with a robust voice addressed his phone. Experiencing this firsthand, I must say, there are indeed quite a few thieves here. To be honest, I arrived rather early. The online chatter suggested the dumpling vendor would appear around 11 o'clock, but I got here by 9. As I entered, I sensed the presence of numerous individuals deliberately brushing against me, clearly attempting to rummage through my pockets. One can only imagine, being a robust man of considerable stature, how audacious those thieves must be to approach me. However, here lies the crux of the matter. The moment I revealed my selfie stick, those miscreants instinctively retreated 2 meters away. I wandered through the market for nearly 2 hours, and I found that as long as I held the selfie stick, seemingly engaged in a live broadcast, no one dared to confront me. I suspect that following the incident involving the renowned streamer, the thieves in this market have become wary of targeting streamers, fearful of inadvertently robbing a prominent figure. Indeed, one must seize the moment. This bald gentleman arrived early and discovered the ideal travel strategy for Feng'an district. The safety tip for traversing Feng'an district, everyone take note, is to feign a live broadcast. As long as you pretend to be streaming, the thieves will think twice before stealing from you. For those planning an adventurous visit to Feng'an district soon, you might want to give it a try, although it may not work for long. As all the streamers converged in front, snapping pictures of Xiaolon, his vehicle was effectively blocked from entering the market. Just as he was grappling with this predicament, a fruit vendor took it upon himself to shout through a loudspeaker, "Everyone, please make way. Allow the dumpling vendor to pass. If you don't, he won't be able to set up his stall." Xiaolon was taken aback by the vendor's unexpected assistance. What astonished him even further was the local residents who spontaneously assumed the role of traffic directors. "Please form 2 lines. Make way for our dumpling vendor. No pushing or shoving. Be cautious of trampling. Keep a firm grip on your belongings, regardless of the excitement. Hold on to your phones. Vendors, please move aside and clear the path." Under the chorus of commands, the way ahead was swiftly cleared. Everyone instinctively positioned themselves to the sides, creating a welcoming corridor for Xiaolon. He stood in disbelief. Was this truly the Feng'an district he knew? Reluctantly, he steered his electric vehicle forward, parking at yesterday's stall. He suddenly felt an urge to slap Lia's C, questioning whether this surreal scene was merely a dream. Not only did the locals' actions seem unreasonable, but the presence of so many outsiders was equally perplexing. Just the previous night, many had speculated that this was merely a publicity stunt. How could there still be so many people here? Little did Xiaolon know that it was precisely because of the online controversy that a multitude of streamers had flocked to the area. Streamers are drawn to wherever there is traffic. They are undeterred by perilous situations or treacherous environments. The more contentious and dangerous the scenario, the more captivating the live broadcast becomes. Some streamers even covertly broadcast their sessions, intentionally displaying their wallets and spare phones, waiting for theft to occur, thus generating buzz and viewership. Unbeknownst to them, the thieves here possess keen eyes, capable of spotting hidden cameras immediately, mistaking them for law enforcement surveillance, and behaving accordingly. Numerous streamers, harboring a skeptical mindset, sought to ascertain whether Xiaolan's dumplings were truly as delectable as touted by the renowned food critic. Should Xiaolan's culinary skills prove mediocre and the dumplings lackluster, they would seize the opportunity to accuse the critic of colluding with the government for publicity. Engaging in a public dispute with a major influencer would undoubtedly yield a surge in viewership. Thus, as soon as Xiaolan's stall was set up, a throng of individuals surged forward, akin to stray dogs catching sight of a steaming meat bone. Xiaolan, wishing to avoid obstructing pedestrian traffic and disrupting the businesses of fellow vendors, was on the verge of speaking when several voices rose in unison. Please form an orderly queue. Kindly queue, everyone. No pushing, please. The speakers were those who had accompanied Xiaolan from the intersection to the market, and they had taken it upon themselves to uphold order. It was uncertain whether they sought to impress Xiaolan in hopes of a greater allowance for dumpling purchases, or if the words of their supervisor from the previous day had awakened a sense of honor and responsibility within them. Regardless, maintaining order is always a commendable endeavor. Xiaolan cleared her throat and announced the limit on dumpling purchases, just as she had done that morning. The distinction this time was the absence of a preferential lane. Both lines were treated equally. Among the queued patrons, a few whispered, "Do you think the voice of this dumpling vendor resembles that of the pig trotter seller?" The inquiry came from those who had specifically journeyed from the electronic park. They had arrived at the market early, dispersing to explore every nook and cranny, yet had found no sign of the pig trotter seller's father. Undeterred, they chose to wait, and in their patience, they encountered the dumpling vendor. Though their primary aim had been to spot the pig trotter seller's father, they reasoned that since they were already there, they might as well sample the dumplings. Especially since the online buzz praised the craftsmanship of the dumpling vendor. What caliber of dumpling would dare compete with the famed braised pig trotters for the title of Fengling City's premier delicacy? However, before they could procure the dumplings, someone remarked on the similarity of Xiaolan's voice, prompting an initial discussion on the matter. Upon hearing this, the others listened intently. Moments later, they dismissed the assertion. How could that be? Please refrain from making unfounded claims. The pig trotter seller's voice is clearly far more melodious. Indeed, it possesses a unique character, exuding an air of aloof genius that is unattainable for the average person. Precisely. Let us not trivialize this. The dumpling vendor's voice sounds rather muted and verbose, lacking any semblance of aloofness. The worker who initially posed the question, after being continually refuted, reluctantly succumbed to the collective perspective upon further reflection. Perhaps it doesn't resemble it much after all. See, the fan filter is a perilous thing. Some individuals, though still living, had already begun to be romanticized in nostalgia, their memories polished through the lens of fondness. The queue stretched long. The line on the left had reached the market entrance and looped back to the stall, while the right line extended to the end of the market and similarly curved back. Thus, some patrons appeared to be less than 2 meters from the stall, when in reality, they were separated by hundreds of individuals. The workers in the electronic parks find themselves in a rather awkward position. They are so close that they can hear Xiaolan's voice clearly, yet they still have to wait a considerable time before their turn arrives. Bored and restless, they begin to observe the reactions of customers who have successfully purchased buns. Many individuals, upon acquiring their buns, immediately taste them live on air. For numerous ordinary folks, it is their first encounter with such delectable buns, and their reactions are inevitably exaggerated, especially those of the charismatic streamers. Those who make a living as streamers are often inherently attention-seeking. The more viewers, the more exhilarated they become, a phenomenon often referred to as performing for an audience. Their natural responses are thus magnified several times over compared to the average person. As the buns are consumed, the streamers roll their eyes, convulse, pound their heads in excitement, and leap on the spot, their reactions exaggerated to the utmost degree, akin to a grand display of human ancestral instincts, captured by the live cameras. They spare no effort in employing the most extreme language to express their heartfelt admiration. Oh my goodness. Rolling eyes, with just one bite. It feels like my soul has been captured. Convulsing. I think I'm going to ascend to the heavens. Trembling all over. Dear viewers, listen to me. Grab a pen and take notes, as the following points are crucial for your examination. Serious tone. Before indulging in this handmade bun, serious face. You must tie your feet to a large rock with a rope, determined gaze, or you might float away like a hydrogen balloon and then explode. Threatening tone. I am not joking. Ah, this is absolutely delicious. In frenzy. Grandma, are you here to take me home? Giddy laughter. Ah, even great-grandma has come. Dazed. While other streamers have long grown accustomed to such antics, the workers from the electronic parks find it all too abstract. They stifle their laughter, their eyes betraying a hint of disdain, quietly discussing among themselves. Isn't this streamer-esque performance just too contrived? How much did they spend on marketing? I don't know. But typically, those who engage in such flamboyant displays often have subpar products. If they are this exaggerated over buns, imagine how they would react to pig trotters. Wouldn't they be so ecstatic they might lose control? In their peripheral vision, they notice someone seemingly entranced, pestering others. Excuse me. Are you planning to buy 10 buns? If not, could you spare a bun for me? I beg you, just one bun. The workers shake their heads in disbelief. Their performance is far too insincere. The limit on purchases has always been unreasonable. 10 buns as a limit? If they were truly delicious, it should be restricted to just one, like pig trotters. Whether it is a case of prophetic words remains to be seen. As the number of buns dwindles near the electronic park workers, it becomes apparent that there are not enough to go around. Despite Xiaolan's efforts to double the production, the supply still falls short. When it is finally the workers' turn, if each were to demand 10 buns, one individual could only purchase 6. Xiaolan, feeling quite embarrassed, informs them of the situation and suggests, seeing that you all seem to know each other, would you like to share? Each person could have 9, and it would perfectly balance out. To her surprise, the workers do not seem perturbed by this at all. One of them waves his hand dismissively. No need to share. I originally intended to buy just 4. A few others laughed and chimed in. So do I. We mainly wish to sample them. 5 would suffice for me. 2 would be enough for me, just to savor the flavor. One cannot be satiated with dumplings alone. A proper meal is essential. I shall save some appetite for lunch later. You're still planning to have lunch? I thought you weren't going, one remarked. In that case, I shall only take 2 dumplings. Xiaolan, indifferent, was willing to provide as many as anyone desired, for he had no worries about selling out. Meanwhile, customers standing behind a few workers brightened at the prospect. They were on the verge of leaving in disappointment. But upon hearing that the individuals ahead did not intend to purchase everything, one clever customer immediately called out, "Boss, they don't want them. I'll take 10. Another quick-witted patron followed suit, exclaiming, "I'll take the rest." Both of these vocal customers were regulars, well aware of the dumpling's true worth. Once one begins to indulge, even 10 may not suffice. Even if their stomachs are filled to capacity, the cravings within refuse to be quelled. Moreover, should one find the dumplings expensive, they could always resell them at a premium. Regulars are certainly willing to pay extra, and newcomers, having traveled from afar for a taste, would also be inclined to give them a try. Faced with such a splendid opportunity, it was bewildering that some would willingly forfeit it. The 2 fortunate individuals who had seized the moment regarded the workers with expressions akin to reverence, yet also with a hint of condescension. However, the workers did not ponder deeply. They did not believe these dumplings could be resold for a high price, even if they witnessed a transaction before their eyes. They assumed it was merely a stunt for the livestream. They might deceive viewers online, but not them. Soon enough, they received their desired quantities of dumplings. The dumplings, plump and round, fit comfortably within their palms, roughly the size of half a hand. Whether due to the well-prepared dough or the generous filling, these dumplings appeared more sumptuous than ordinary ones, resembling the head of a rotund cat. Their appearance was quite charming, though the price was decidedly steep. Meanwhile, the customer who had snatched up 10 dumplings left with a contented smile, casting a grateful glance back at the workers. Once he had distanced himself a few meters, the workers whispered among themselves, "Goodness, 10 dumplings cost 100 yuan. That's enough for a substantial chunk of pig trotters. Indeed, I would gladly spend 100 on pig trotters, at least that's a proper meat dish. But for dumplings, I cannot bring myself to part with that much. That fellow must have been swayed by marketing. I hope he doesn't regret it after indulging." As they walked, they casually stuffed dumplings into their mouths, chewing while they conversed. With each bite, their pace slowed. Their dark eyes began to shimmer with a rosy hue, and their round pupils gradually morphed into heart shapes. At the moment the meat filling was thoroughly chewed, accompanied by a burst of juices, a myriad of vibrant colors exploded in their vision. The bustling, chaotic market before them suddenly transformed into a mosaic of brilliant hues. At the moment when the colors fractured, the heavens and the earth transformed. The deep azure galaxy swirled beneath, adorned with countless vibrant stars, while a fiery phoenix flapped its wings overhead, showering radiant feathers upon the world. This once familiar, mundane reality suddenly became mesmerizing and surreal, as the monotonous people and things morphed into a myriad of blossoming flowers, dancing through the air. Indeed, beautiful things are interconnected, and the human senses resonate with one another. The delicacies savored on their tongues also offered a feast for their eyes. It was as if the world transcended from three-dimensionality to two-dimensionality. Looking down, they wandered through Van Gogh's Starry Night, and raising their hands, they could almost touch the stained glass of the Middle Ages. The workers found themselves suspended between the realms of the virtual and the real, at times perceiving themselves as mere observers of a painting, and at other times feeling as though they were part of the artwork itself. Surrounded daily by the monotony of assembly line labor, their impressions of the city had been reduced to cold shades of black, white, and gray. Yet in this moment, they perceived a kaleidoscope before them, where every glance revealed a riot of colors. Countless hues, once scattered, converged again, restoring the familiar sights they knew so well. The bustling marketplace remained unchanged, as did the familiar bun stall behind them. Nothing had altered, only their state of mind had shifted. The bun vendor was tidying up his stall, preparing to leave. They felt an inkling of realization, glancing down to find their buns had mysteriously disappeared. Oblivious, they seemed to have stepped into a temporal vortex, instantly transported from the past to the present. Yet the exquisite flavors they had experienced lingered, beckoning them to relive the moment. The last time they felt such elation was when savoring the marrow of pig trotters. Rarely encountered, such delightful experiences were indeed scarce. At this moment, a rebellious thought emerged in their minds. They found themselves believing the buns were even more delectable than the trotters. Why did the latter yield to the former? Because the former was unassuming and uncompetitive. The trotters had long since faded from their view, their memories beginning to blur, leaving only the echoes of their bodily responses. Now, the same sensations could be evoked by the buns. And these buns arrived with such fervor and grandeur, as if they had detonated a nuclear bomb within their very beings. After obliterating all traces left by the trotters, a new dynasty of buns arose from the ashes. An impulse surged within them to rush forward and cling to the vendor's leg, pleading for just one more bun. Yet reason reminded them that it was futile. The buns were sold out. Moreover, the remaining 13 had already been claimed by others. Watching the bun vendor busily closing his stall, a wave of regret washed over each of them. Had they nodded in agreement when the vendor proposed sharing 9 buns each, they would not now be left feeling so unfulfilled. Vivid memories of exaggerated gestures and expressions from streamers floated into their minds. Previously, they had deemed the streamers' performances overly theatrical. Yet now they found their reactions somewhat restrained. They couldn't help but surreptitiously observe their companions' responses, as none wished to reveal their silent betrayal of the trotter cult. A few moments ago, they fervently declared, "I shall never betray the cult of pig trotters. The pig trotter sect shall endure forever." Yet, mere moments later, they swiftly wavered, which is rather hard to justify. Suddenly, the phones of 4 workers buzzed simultaneously. A flurry of messages emerged, as a member of the Victims of Pig Trotters Alliance inquired, "Have you tried those handmade buns that are trending? Is it true that so many people are queuing for them? How do they compare? Surely, the pig trotters must still reign supreme." This seemingly innocuous question felt like a profound interrogation, striking each of them like a whip across the face. After a fierce internal struggle, one finally mustered the courage to voice a response. "I find the buns quite tasty, but they pale in comparison to the pig trotters." At once, the group erupted in triumph. Chapter 93. For traders among 4 individuals. I told you, nothing can surpass pig trotters. The cult of pig trotters shall endure. Why are the others silent? What say you? Initially, the others hoped to evade scrutiny, yet the inquisitive member had already tagged each of them. Goodness, was this a summons for individual questioning? They could only muster the courage to reply, "I too deem pig trotters the finest. These buns are merely a second choice." Indeed, I stand with pig trotters. The last worker, hearing the consensus among his peers, pressed his lips together and reluctantly echoed, "Yes, I concur." As they relayed their voice messages in the group, none dared to meet each other's gaze, fearful of revealing the unease in their eyes. It is often said that only the newcomers revel, while the old guard weeps. If even beauty is thus treated, how much more so culinary delights? Yet, none dared to speak up. No one wished to be the first to betray the collective. Engaging in fandom operates in such a manner, ultimately. It is not the object of admiration that is cherished, but rather the will of the community. Nonetheless, they discreetly kept a watchful eye and snapped a picture of the QR code for the bun customers group, promptly scanning it to join. The first worker to enter the group hastily inquired, "Is there anyone here willing to take orders? I have work tomorrow and cannot come to buy buns." The second worker, having just joined the bun customers group, noticed inquiries about orders. He quickly chimed in, "I want one too. I need someone to place an order." Suddenly, he recognized the familiar avatar of the person who had made the initial inquiry. Upon clicking the profile, it revealed that this individual was, in fact, a friend. "Oh no, it's someone I know." Alarmed, he quickly attempted to retract his second message. Just as he contemplated retracting the first, he suddenly realized that the very person who had proposed the order stood right beside him. They both simultaneously lifted their gazes, their eyes meeting as if 2 snails extended their tentacles, revealing complex emotions. At that moment, a new message popped up in the group, indicating the entrance of another newcomer. The new member, upon joining, could not see the previous messages. Unexpectedly, a newcomer took the initiative to post, "Is there anyone in the group living near the vegetable market? Could you assist with purchasing?" The 2 individuals who had entered the group first felt a sense of unease upon seeing the nickname of the third person. Upon clicking to investigate, they were astounded to discover it was a mutual friend. They then turned their gaze towards another colleague nearby, quietly lamenting that 3 out of the 4 had become traitors. While the third member inquired further, the fourth worker arrived fashionably late. Soon, the 4 workers from the park were gathered, their phones displaying everyone's detailed profiles. A peculiar expression flickered in each of their eyes. Astonishingly, all 4 had turned out to be traitors. Mere moments ago, they had pledged their loyalty in the pig trotter group, and now, they found themselves in the bun customer exchange group. Life resembles a theatrical performance, entirely reliant on one's acting prowess. However, it was a relief to be transparent, as it spared them from the need for pretense. The unfortunate news was that all 4 were due to work the following day, rendering them unable to procure buns. Suddenly, one individual harbored a wicked thought, a sinister smile curling at the corners of his lips. "I reckon old Wong has a day off tomorrow. Why not leave it at that? We resemble specters conspiring against others." The other three wore knowing expressions, quickly breaking into villainous laughter. Hee. With Xiaolan's departure, the number of people in the vegetable market began to dwindle. Numerous streamers hurriedly returned to their hotels, eager to edit videos and release them as soon as possible. Some less fortunate streamers, having endured long queues, found that by the time they reached the front, the buns were sold out. Consequently, they left empty-handed with no usable material. Unable to even compile a few minutes of vlog footage. Reluctant to depart, they continued to wander through the old street market, attempting to uncover new culinary delights or perhaps probing the perilous essence of this dragon's lair. As the influx of outsiders diminished and locals increased, the equilibrium of Fengmen Market was disrupted, revealing its fangs to these unfamiliar faces. A young thief had set his sights on two young women. They appeared to be streamers as well, yet their phone screens displayed not a live stream, but merely a recording. The thief had been tailing them for quite some time, confirming the absence of accomplices nearby and noting their waning vigilance. Occasionally, with too many purchases, their hands became occupied, and they would place their phones into their handbags. Moreover, the girls' phones were adorned with attractive lanyards, making them particularly convenient targets for theft. If placed in a bag, the lanyard could easily be hooked and the phone snatched away. If held in hand, a quick snip of the lanyard would go unnoticed. Although committing theft at this hour was risky, the audacious often thrive. What of it? The greater the storm, the more valuable the catch. Today, the market had attracted numerous big fish, and surely, other thieves would be tempted to act. As long as their skills were sufficient, they would evade capture. Alternatively, if there were enough thefts, no one would care about a single incident. The reason the thieves encountered failure with Tiao Gu was partly due to his status as a prominent streamer. On the other hand, the act of shearing wool has grown excessively outrageous. A dozen thieves encircle a single sheep. How could one not feel exasperated? If those same thieves were to disperse and pilfer from numerous individuals, perhaps the police would find themselves overwhelmed, or the victims, facing insignificant losses, would be disinclined to report the incidents. At that moment, as a young thief seized a girl's phone, extracting it from its tether, three hands suddenly reached from different directions, grasping his arm and shoulder. The thief, startled, initially believed he had encountered an undercover officer. Yet upon closer inspection, he realized they were merely familiar faces, longtime vendors from the market who had been operating their stalls for over a decade, intimately acquainted with the thieves. Instantly, the young thief relaxed. As long as they were not relentless enforcers of the law, he could easily deal with these soft targets. Why are you apprehending me? Let me go? To his surprise, one of the older women glared at him. Apprehending you? Are you truly unaware of your actions? You've been caught red-handed. And yet you feigned innocence. Another elderly man, a distant relative of the thief, chimed in. You little rascal, I watched you grow up. You never learned your lesson. Even in middle school, your hands were not clean. Now you dare to steal? You are brazenly committing a crime. Even when caught, the thief remained unfazed. Clutching the girl's phone, he lied with a straight face. What do you mean, committing a crime? I merely found this beautiful lady's phone and intended to return it to her. Don't slander me. If you have poor eyesight, get it treated. Don't think about running your stall. You might miscount your money one day and not even realize it. His initial words were a feeble defense, while the latter part was a thinly veiled threat, implying that if they interfered with his schemes, their business would suffer. These tactics were taught to him by seasoned criminals and had proven effective time and again. As he spoke, he mimicked the swagger of his mentors, smirking to appear cool and nonchalant. Little did he know, this would be his first and last time attempting to act tough. He was met with a harsh reality check. The elderly man holding him seized his old cloth shoes and struck his face repeatedly with the soles. You dare to threaten me? I've dealt with your father in his youth. What makes you think I want to deal with you? Hitting you is akin to striking a dog. What can you do about it? With each strike, the thief's arrogant demeanor swiftly faded. Another impatient vendor interjected, stop wasting time with him. Let us take him directly to the police station. We can all testify. The sooner he is gone, the sooner we can return to our business. Upon hearing the mention of the police station, the thief became frantic, reverting to his local dialect. Uncle, please, don't do this. You watch me grow up. I was just momentarily misguided. Please don't send me to the police. The uncle spat at him. Now you call me uncle? Now you regret your actions? It's too late. Yesterday, you were condemned by the entire nation. Do you not feel ashamed? How can you dare to steal again? Do you think this behavior honors your ancestors? After listening, the thief hesitated and remarked, but aren't our ancestors thieves too? I've heard they were once criminals, exiled, and then turned to banditry. The two sisters, initially startled, could not help but burst into laughter. The old man, unable to contain his irritation, removed his shoe sole and delivered several sharp slaps to the thief. Silence. How dare you speak of our ancestors? Who permitted you to mention them? The thief felt a sense of injustice, thinking, wasn't it you who brought them up first? Yet, he dared only to voice this in his mind, fearing further punishment. One must admit, the old man's shoe carried a dreadful odor, likely older than the thief himself. Regardless of the thief's pleas for mercy, the old man and several stall owners forcibly escorted him to the police station. They even summoned the two sisters to testify. As they were both streamers, they recorded the entire incident, ensuring to capture the beginning and the end. As short video creators, they were elated to have found fresh material. The group departed amidst a flurry of complaints and scuffles. A similar scene unfolded at various locations in the Old Street Market throughout the day. By the end, a total of 20 thieves had been apprehended. The thieves were bewildered by the arrests. They suspected that the recent trending news would affect the residents' mindset in Fomen District. But they never anticipated the extent of this impact, nor the drastic transformation. Overnight, everyone seemed to adopt a righteous stance, unyielding and impartial. Fomen District is small, and many residents are connected by kinship. Tracing back through the genealogy, one might discover shared ancestors. Yet, when it came to capturing thieves, they showed no mercy, even harsher than the police. What these thieves failed to realize was that the stall owner's drastic change in attitude stemmed not only from the shame of being ridiculed in front of netizens, but also from the sweet taste of prosperity brought by the influx of customers. Today, visitors from all corners of the world exhibited extraordinary generosity. Some streamers, specializing in product reviews, purchased an array of novelties to try. The stall owners earned in a single morning what they would typically make in a month. This validated the director's claims. It was indeed these thieves who hindered their earnings. How could they allow these rogues to chase away their good fortune? Each stall owner had been operating in the Old Street Market for over a decade, thoroughly familiar with every thief's modus operandi. With keen observation, they could discern a thief's technique and preferred targets even before a theft occurred. If any thief dared to act, they would be caught red-handed. This was akin to a mantis stalking a cicada, with the sparrow lurking behind. What terrified the thieves the most was not just the arrests, but the public shaming that followed. A wooden board inscribed with the character for thief was hung around their necks, and a notice was posted at the market's entrance, revealing the name of each captured thief. Some individuals, in their fervent resistance, were forcefully subdued and bound, subsequently confined within steel pig cages, then transported to the police station in a tricycle typically used for hauling pigs. The thieves were utterly dismayed, questioning whose nefarious idea this was. It was indeed a cruel tactic. Historically, public shaming was employed to humiliate offenders, as it inflicted minimal physical harm while maximizing humiliation. Such displays provided significant visual stimulation, resulting in a profoundly impactful deterrent effect. Similarly, even the most accomplished scholars in ancient times were paraded through the streets atop horses, aiming to amplify the publicity surrounding their achievements. The opinions and gazes of passers-by could be both sweet as honey and sharp as a knife for those being paraded. How does this differ from 1,000 cuts? In modern civilized society, recognizing the importance of safeguarding citizens' privacy and offering criminals a chance for rehabilitation, public shaming has long been abolished. Unless one is a serious fugitive, detailed personal information is generally not disclosed to the public. However, the police's reluctance to engage in such practices does not deter the populace from taking matters into their own hands. When lawless thieves encounter the fierce resolve of the local community, it exemplifies the idea that evil begets evil. Although the authorities do not endorse such brutal methods, they possess no alternative but to admonish the public when these actions come to light. This method proves to be exceedingly potent. For individuals in smaller towns, public humiliation serves as a greater deterrent than incarceration. For those ignorant of the law, imprisonment may seem like a gilded experience. Upon release, they might consider themselves initiated into the underworld, with a criminal record serving as a badge of honor. In stark contrast, public disgrace brings enduring embarrassment, as relatives will incessantly recount the incident for years to come. The subject of ridicule at family gatherings will inevitably be the one who was caught red-handed. On this particular day, the police station in Fomen was overwhelmed with activity, while the Old Street Market was filled with exuberance. It was as if years of pent-up frustration had finally been released. The market vendors continued their spirited pursuit until the afternoon closing, still buzzing with excitement. Fueled by this fervor, some locals initiated live broadcasts, addressing the audience nationwide. Ladies and gentlemen from all over, feel free to come here. If anyone dares to steal from you, I will be the first to object. I will act as your bodyguard without charge. Any thief who approaches will be sent flying from the Old Street Market to the Eastern train station. If they can't escape unscathed, they will leave clean. As Fomen District became a trending topic, the first video from this impassioned individual went viral. Within hours, the number of his followers surged into the thousands. Many locals, inspired by the excitement, also began filming videos, joining in the call. Come to my sister's place, and I'll be your free tour guide. I'll even help you find a partner. My family runs a hotel, and you can trust that no thieves will enter. Any crook trying to break in without ID will receive 10 lashes before being sent packing. That day, Fomen District once again ascended to the trending topic list. However, it is no longer due to theft, but rather a multitude of streamers have disseminated travel guides. These streamers have offered fairly objective assessments of Fomen District, sharing both commendations and criticisms. Some have vehemently derided it as merely an urban-rural fringe, while others, swayed by the allure of the steamed buns, have uttered a few kind words. Regardless, the reputation of Fomen District plummeted to an all-time low yesterday. No amount of derogatory remarks could further tarnish its standing. Conversely, as long as one person speaks positively, it can be deemed a good thing. Numerous netizens commented. Today, I heard many streamers extolling the deliciousness of the handmade buns. which has sparked my curiosity to visit Fenghan District. I hope the streamers are not deceiving me. I don't wish to sacrifice my kidneys for a couple of buns. For those eager to go, I recommend watching this video. Web link. This adventurous blogger will teach you how to navigate Fenghan District safely with comprehensive guidance. While some netizens eagerly sought out tips, many remained cautious. Today, I saw many locals inviting us outsiders to visit, assuring us they would handle the thieves. Frankly, this approach is quite endearing. However, I'm unsure if it's a scam, so I'll observe a bit longer. You're still observing? If you wait too long, you'll miss out on the buns. Did you not see the bustling queues today? 2 lines folded over twice, reminiscent of playing Snake. I heard that many streamers who went today ended up with empty hands. The buns were sold out long before. Once the hype increases, they'll become even harder to procure. After all, they are handmade, and the supply cannot keep pace. Indeed, I've heard that the stall owner has only one less than capable brother assisting. Thankfully, payments are now made via scanning codes. Otherwise, that brother would struggle with giving change, let alone helping to make the buns. It is said that all the buns are crafted solely by the stall owner, swiftly and skillfully. Wow, now that you mention it, I can't hold back. I'm booking a flight immediately. Many others expressed. I envy those of you who can leave at a moment's notice. I have to work and cannot go. I'll just watch Tao Gu's live stream from home. Meanwhile, Tao Gu is live streaming, evaluating other delicacies in Fenghan District outdoors. He has only consumed 10 buns today and is now quite hungry. As he walks, he remarks, "When I bought the buns this morning, I intended to eat 5 first and save 5 for dinner. However, before I knew it, I devoured them all. I must tell you, these buns are truly exceptional. I can only describe them with 4 words, unprecedented in my life. For anyone tasting them for the first time, none can resist their allure. Alas, I've stuffed myself during the day and now find myself starving at night. Unfortunately, the bun vendor does not operate in the evening, so I must seek sustenance elsewhere." With the assistance of some enthusiastic local netizens from Fenghan District, Tao Gu managed to discover 1 or 2 eateries that were bearable. Of course, for someone as discerning as him, they were merely passable, while for the majority of netizens, they were undoubtedly of excellent quality. As he eats, he glances at the comments and notices many netizens inquiring, "Tao Gu, are you not planning to pursue that bun vendor to buy a house in Fenghan District? Have you managed to find out where he resides?" The regretful Tao Gu replied, "The boss is quite occupied, tirelessly preparing dumplings. I wish to arrange an exclusive interview with him, yet he has no spare moments. Fortunately, I have added him on WeChat. I perused his moments, and he hardly posts, which suggests he values his privacy. I suspect he won't disclose where he purchased his property. Those real estate agents who claim to know are merely riding the wave of attention. However, this is of little consequence. It certainly won't thwart me." Tao Gu leisurely took a bite of his dish and casually remarked, "The new street in Fenghan District has only been developed for a few years, and there are scarcely a handful of communities. At worst, I could purchase a unit in each community. One of them must be where the dumpling master resides." The netizens were left astounded by Tao Gu's bold declarations. "Goodness, Tao Gu, you buy houses as if they are cabbages. Don't you find that rather absurd? Why does this line echo in my mind? He escapes, he pursues, he finds it hard to take flight. My goodness. Is it too late for me to learn how to make dumplings? Tao Gu, I am willing to be the dumpling master's stand-in." Craving opulence without the slightest desire for genuine affection. "Tao Gu, you might not believe it, but you bear a resemblance to my long-lost father. May I call you my godfather?" Tao Gu ignored the plethora of whimsical comments, selecting only the one he deemed significant. Indeed, purchasing a house is akin to buying cabbage. The prices here are astonishingly low. Today, I acquired a 100 square meter residence for a mere 300,000 in full. It is hard to fathom that this is the price of housing in a city. Fenghan New District is in close proximity to the Eastern District, where the average property price exceeds 600,000. Upon seeing such affordability, I might as well buy several units. As long as the dumpling master remains here, he cannot escape my grasp. Instead of provoking further ridicule, this assertive proclamation redirected the crowd's attention to the remarkably low property prices. Fenghan City boasts high-speed rail and metro access, making transportation exceedingly convenient, and the housing prices are indeed remarkably low. Consequently, many began to comment, "Tao Gu, could you elaborate on the properties in Fenghan District? Do you find it livable, or is it merely suitable for investment?" Tao Gu leisurely elucidated, "The property I purchased is on the new street in Fenghan, and it truly is delightful. I was quite enamored after a stroll around. Do not let the dilapidated old street deceive you. It resembles a blend of urban and rural areas. The new street is a recent development, featuring advanced design concepts and excellent construction." Chapter 96, Bad News, he was unmasked. The roads are clean and spacious, equipped with comprehensive infrastructure and numerous parks, both large and small. Most importantly, it is particularly quiet, with very few people around. For someone like me who prefers tranquility, residing there would be a true pleasure. I purchased the property both for investment purposes and with the intention of spending time there when I have the chance. It is not far from the bustling city, allowing for outings when one craves excitement, and a peaceful retreat at home when solitude is desired. It is quite splendid. The netizens were driven to frenzy by his words. "Tao Gu, you truly haven't accepted any local promotional fees, have you? Your description has me thoroughly captivated. Family members. Who understands? I am truly vexed by the incessant honking of city streets, yet I cannot bear to part with the conveniences of urban life. It seems that Fenghan district is perfectly suited to me. When I reflect upon it, the prospects indeed appear promising. If the reputation of Fenghan district improves in the future, property values may rise, making it a wise investment to purchase a home there. Tao Gu has emerged as the most popular streamer across the internet, and his latest live broadcast has sparked yet another wave of excitement. While other hosts struggle to sell even a single eyebrow pencil, Tao Gu effortlessly turned the properties in Fenghan district into a hot commodity. That very night, countless individuals reached out to real estate agents in Fenghan district, inquiring about purchasing homes. The local residents were taken aback by this sudden commotion, realizing belatedly that the land near Exine Street was highly coveted. If they did not act, outsiders would come to compete with them for it. Alarmed, they hastily gathered their savings and convened with their families to discuss the matter of buying property. Upon awakening, Xiaolon discovered a plethora of unread notifications from the system. Ding. 10 C-level criminals have been apprehended. The capture was effective. Reward: 200,000 yuan and 2,000 points. Keep up the good work. Ding. 10 D-level criminals have been apprehended. The capture was effective. Reward: 50,000 yuan and 500 points. Keep up the good work. Still groggy from sleep, Xiaolon found it perplexing how 20 individuals had been captured so suddenly. Could it possibly be related to his steamed buns? Never mind. If it doesn't make sense, he would not dwell on it. His points had accumulated to a significant amount, so he opened the points exchange shop, only to find that no new items had been added. However, the upgrade button for the food cart was illuminated. The last upgrade had expanded its detection range to 1 meter, and he was curious about the benefits of this new upgrade. Noticing he had 500 points, he casually spent 1,000 points to initiate the upgrade. In the next moment, the upgrade was successful, and he slowly perused the upgrade introduction page. The new feature stated, detection range increased by half a meter, simultaneously displays the crimes of apprehended individuals. No innocent person will be wronged, under the red light. There are no wrongful convictions. With his eyes gleaming, Xiaolon felt invigorated. This new feature was excellent. It would finally liberate him from the frustration of blind captures. He noticed he could also access past records and quickly check the circumstances surrounding the 20 individuals apprehended while he was asleep. Zhao, multiple thefts, 1 robbery, cumulative amount substantial. Qian, multiple thefts, cumulative amount substantial, 3 records of fighting and causing a disturbance. Sun, multiple thefts, cumulative amount substantial. Turning the page, he found that the majority were apprehended for multiple thefts, with amounts exceeding 30,000, classified as C-level by the system. Others, while also guilty of multiple thefts, had cumulative amounts deemed merely significant, below 3,000, thus classified as D-level. Upon reflection, the apprehensions were indeed justified. Thieves are a daily occurrence, and in the past 2 days alone, there had been a bountiful harvest. In just a short span, 35 individuals had been captured, yet it seemed there were no big catches, only small fry of C and D levels. Xiaolon reported the situation to Old Lu, inquiring about further instructions. Old Lu responded promptly, continue to set up your stall for a few more days. The small fish and shrimp cannot be accounted for yet. When chaos reigns in a place for so long, it is evident that there are individuals orchestrating and scheming behind the scenes. If we cannot catch the big fish, this operation will be deemed a failure. Xiaolon had no objections to continuing with the stall, yet he harbored some concerns. Captain, I fear that if I persist, my dumpling stall will soon be forced to go public. Will the local government prevent my departure? I merely wish to serve the people as a police officer. I do not aspire to remain as a dumpling stall owner. Unbeknownst to him, Old Lu on the other end was nearly amused by his words. Rest assured, Xiaolon. With your statement, we will not allow anyone to take you away. Stay there with peace of mind. From what I gather, the local government intends for you to capture this flow of traffic first, then gradually redirect it elsewhere. They are already aware of your identity and should know that you cannot be retained. Xiaolon felt somewhat reassured, yet still sought final confirmation. What if the traffic conversion does not meet expectations and they attempt to force me to stay? Do not worry. If they dare to hold you against your will, I will find a sturdy rope and quietly hang myself at their doorstep in the dead of night, leaving a message urging them to release you. They will heed my words, for the dead deserve respect. Xiaolon was left speechless, with such a promise from Old Lu. What more could he say? After hanging up, Xiaolon opened his secondary account to check how many group members he had attracted over the past few days. This would also provide insight into the current flow of attention he was drawing. Upon logging in, his phone was instantly inundated with a deluge of messages, causing a momentary lag. Accustomed to this, Xiaolon set the phone down to let it process. He rose to wash his face in the restroom before returning to the screen. What he saw stunned him. The bad news was that he had been exposed. The good news was that only half of his identity had been revealed. At least his undercover status remained intact. His dumpling customer group was flooded with a surge of members from the pig trotter group, all fervently tagging him. It was as if a wife was angrily confronting her unfaithful husband, as the crowd relentlessly utilized the tap feature. bombarding Xiaolan's avatar. Vendor. I am wholeheartedly devoted to your pig trotters. Why are you selling other dumplings outside? Do you think we wouldn't recognize you just because you've changed your avatar and nickname? What is so great about dumplings? Can they compare to the large and expensive pig trotters? It has been a week. Do you know how we have endured without pig trotters for this long? I just joined the electronic park to buy pig trotters, and you ran off. Do you think that is fair to me? No wonder everyone says these dumplings are so delicious. I was wondering who could make such dumplings. Turns out it's you. I'm driving through the night to the old street market, sleeping in my car, just waiting for you to set up tomorrow. Let us see if you dare to meet my gaze. Chapter 97. The violent father, the dim-witted brother, and the vanished mother. Moreover, today, for workers who had not recognized Xiaolan even upon face-to-face interaction, stepped forth as witnesses. Vendor, you are truly wicked. Are you deliberately avoiding us? You even changed your avatar and nickname, making it impossible for us to recognize you when we made our payment. You're intentionally dodging us, aren't you? You even handed over the leadership of the Bun group to someone else. If it weren't for someone's keen observation, discovering you among the group members, we might not have believed it. Do you have any regard for us? Tomorrow, you must sell buns alongside pig trotters. Do not compel me to beg on my knees. Upon realizing that his cover had been blown, Xiaolan could not help but let out a deep sigh. He regretted his lack of foresight. He thought that merely changing his avatar and handing over the group leadership to Leah C would suffice, not anticipating the customer's acute investigative abilities. It seems he must exercise greater caution in the future, perhaps even refraining from establishing a customer group altogether. If he must create one, he ought to open several alternate accounts to rotate the group leadership. However, the gravest issue stemming from his unmasking was not solely his own. The principal flaw in this task lay in the proximity of the two assignment locations, resulting in overlapping customer groups. He must certainly inform old Lu to assign tasks further apart in the future, with his disguise thoroughly stripped away. Any attempts at denial on Xiaolan's part were now mere fantasies. Ignoring the situation was not an option if he failed to placate them. The customers at the electronic park would truly come to devour him alive. Thus, Xiaolan could only communicate in the group. Dear members, due to adjustments in my personal career planning and certain practical reasons, I must change my stall location and will henceforth be selling buns and noodle dishes. I sincerely appreciate everyone's recognition of my culinary skills, and I am filled with trepidation. Soon, my stall will launch a new beef bun, and I warmly welcome my loyal customers to visit and provide their guidance. Barely 3 seconds after sending his message, responses began to flood in. I knew you weren't intentionally ignoring us. I forgive you. You scoundrel. You've caused me great distress. What good does it do to say this now? Why didn't you do this sooner? Forget it. As long as you acknowledge your mistake, you must not act like this again. An exceptional chef always strives for excellence in their craft, possessing lofty ambitions and challenging themselves. I have never held it against you. Geniuses are often unique in their ways. To fall in love with a bird without feet is to accept that it may return to the embrace of the wind at any moment. P.S. Therefore, when the vendor changes locations next time, could you please discreetly inform me? I am different from them. I do not cry or make a fuss. And I am understanding. Upon reading this, Xiaolan found himself somewhat speechless. He had genuinely not anticipated their rapid forgiveness. Just a moment ago, they seemed eager to flay him alive, and now they effortlessly brushed it aside. He had worried that they might cause a ruckus if they were not properly soothed, only to discover that they could console themselves quite well. He initially thought the earlier responses were already outrageous, but he was taken aback by the subsequent expert replies. I see now, you had your reasons. Very well, I forgive you. Thankfully, the old street market isn't far from us. Do not vanish without a word again. Reasons? Oh, do I truly have any? Xiaolan meticulously reviewed his statements time and again, yet he could not find a single word that hinted at his grievances. He merely alluded to adjustments in his career plan and the harsh realities that prompted his departure, employing some rather common phrases associated with resignation. How did the others arrive at the conclusion that he harbored any hidden troubles? It seemed the group members had sensed the unvoiced questions in his heart, swiftly expressing their sentiments. A violent father, a mentally challenged brother, a vanished mother, and a resilient you. You need not say more. I empathize with your plight. I shall certainly patronize your business in the future. Shopkeeper, did you leave the electronic park quietly to escape your violent father and start anew with your brother? Wouldn't our finding you expose your whereabouts? Wait a moment. Is this appropriate to say? My apologies. I shall retract that, as it infringes upon your privacy. Shortly after this message was sent, it was promptly retracted, followed by the withdrawal of several preceding messages. What? The shopkeeper comes from such a family background? My apologies. I should not have scolded you. I am truly despicable. I apologize, shopkeeper. I will go to the pig trotter group and urge everyone to be more discreet. My earlier outburst was impulsive, and I am truly remorseful. The atmosphere in the group swiftly shifted from one of accusations to one of pleading for forgiveness. Xiaolan thought to himself, indeed, the strong need not explain. Their admirers will fill in the gaps with their imagination. He need not trouble himself with such matters. The following day, the influx of visitors to Fenghan district was indeed greater. Streamers of broadcasters spontaneously promoted the area online, attracting an overwhelming number of casual tourists. Additionally, news had reached the Victims Alliance of the Pig Trotter withdrawal, leading a multitude to take leave and come to purchase buns. When Xiaolon arrived at the intersection, he found that early arriving customers had caused a traffic jam. It appeared that some broadcasters had shared strategies, and everyone was aware that Xiaolon would set up his stall at the intersection in the morning. Fortunately, traffic police arrived promptly to manage the crowd, preventing any chaos from arising. Other vendors, witnessing the throng of customers waiting for Xiaolon before dawn, had long since exhausted their expressions of envy. Some had become the new symbols of Feng'an district within a week of setting up their stalls, hailed as the district's pride and new hope. Meanwhile, they had been operating for years, only to witness an increase in competitors and a decline in earnings, with no advancement in their ventures. It seemed imperative to enroll in skill training classes. Xiaolon grew concerned that the swelling crowd would disrupt normal traffic. He was compelled to announce publicly, "Tomorrow, I shall not set up my stall here. Instead, I will head directly to the old street market, 100 meters away. The green channel remains open for office workers. If it is convenient, you may go there to buy." This decision brought relief to many vendors and office workers alike. With Xiaolon stepping back as a competitor, the other vendors finally had an opportunity to share in the spoils. The sheer number of people in this area risked causing delays for all office workers and potential accidents. It was better to redirect those wishing for buns to the market, ensuring unobstructed access at the intersection, thereby facilitating better time management. Upon awakening, Qin Gaojia once again encountered a new group announcement, delivering yet another blow. Well, last time it was a purchase limit, and now the location has changed. It feels as though all of this is aimed directly at him. It appears that to continue his ambitious endeavors, a new schedule must be devised. However, if even the Feng'an district, which has remained unchanged for 20 years, is beginning to evolve, why should his long-standing route remain static? With this thought, he found himself more accepting of the changes, feeling little resistance within. Even in the group named Greatness Needs No Words, he observed the membership swell from 50 to 100 overnight, and he remained unfazed. Wait, what on earth has caused the membership to double to 100? Chapter 98. You may call him Uncle Feng, or the King of Thieves. Upon inquiring, Qin Gaojia realized that there are no secrets that remain concealed. Following the addition of a dozen leaders to the group yesterday, it seemed that other colleagues had caught wind of the news and subsequently requested to join in rapid succession. In just one day, the number of members had doubled. This clearly illustrates the remarkable impact of the streamer's fervent promotion. Even a small company has garnered such interest in handmade buns. When viewed on a national scale, the implications are even more profound. The previous method of purchasing buns through dice rolls has become outdated, necessitating a shift to distributing red envelopes. A total of 60 cents is divided into 6 portions, and participants compete in speed to snatch them. Those who succeed gain a purchasing opportunity for a bun. To share in the joy, winners often send large red envelopes in the group, allowing everyone to partake in the festive spirit. Thoughtful members even sent Qin Gaojia a special red envelope, which he declined. Each bun incurs an additional courier fee of 2 yuan, and accepting a red envelope would be discourteous. If he were to accept someone else's red envelope today, others might feel entitled to purchase his 4 buns tomorrow. He barely has enough for himself. The silver lining is that as the group expanded, some members revealed they also reside in Feng'an district and could assist in purchasing on behalf of others. Suddenly, everyone living in Feng'an district became highly sought after. Others envied their ability to enjoy such delicious buns daily. Some colleagues even contemplated purchasing a home on the new street in Feng'an, having heard that property prices there are lower than in other districts of Fengling City. Moreover, the area is well planned, tranquil, and ideal for those who appreciate peace. After bringing the buns to the office, Qin Gaojia listened to his colleagues earnestly discussing the prospect of buying homes in Feng'an district, and for a moment, he felt a sense of disorientation. This world felt somewhat surreal to him. He understood that Feng'an was changing, but he had not anticipated such rapid transformation, which left him feeling somewhat anxious. Oh no, with his current savings, would he be able to afford a home on the new street in Feng'an? By the time he accumulates enough funds, the properties may have already been snatched up by others, driving the prices up. Well then, work can wait. He must call his parents to express his intention to buy a house and request their support. Such a significant shift in momentum is palpable even to ordinary residents. Surely, the local leadership must have taken notice as well. The Cultural and Tourism Bureau has initiated vigorous efforts, not only promoting the local handmade buns, but also curating a selection of traditional delicacies unique to the area for collective publicity. Other governmental departments have begun to cooperate. For instance, the Market Supervision Bureau made a special visit to the Old Street S vegetable market. They conducted a preliminary inspection of vendors who were found to be shortchanging customers or selling subpar goods. Throughout the district, police stations have designated personnel on standby around the clock to ensure rapid response times. This sweeping transformation evokes a sense of the waning of an old era and the dawn of a new one. The majority of ordinary citizens eagerly gaze towards the horizon, anticipating the moment when the sun will illuminate the earth. Yet, a minority trembles at the prospect of this sunlight and seeks to impede its arrival. These individuals thrive in the shadows, the beneficiaries of the bygone era. They are not merely petty thieves. Their meager gains pale in comparison to the true prosperity of their kind. In a certain sense, Even these small-time thieves represent the victims of a dark age. The principle of the 80-20 rule applies universally. Among the numerous thieves in Feng'an district, 20 account for 80 of the illicit income, flourishing in their endeavors. This elite group takes orders from a singular figure. You may refer to him as Uncle Feng or the Thief King. Either title suits him. While Uncle Feng's thieving skills are rather ordinary, he possesses a keen intellect. His concept of a comprehensive operation, stealing, transforming, and selling, was conceived and implemented under his guidance. Prior to his conscious call to action, many thieves operated on instinct and connections, resulting in low efficiency. However, by developing a network and fostering collaborative efforts, he optimized every aspect of their operations. Were someone of his caliber to be placed in a legitimate corporation, he would undoubtedly excel in management. Regrettably, he has chosen the path of illegality, channeling his talents into criminal endeavors. Uncle Feng harbors grand ambitions, aiming to establish Feng'an district as the golden triangle of the fencing world, attracting stolen goods from across the nation and even the globe for disposal. He assumes a godfather-like role, inciting chaos without having to directly engage in violence. Indeed, he has succeeded in this regard. Years ago, he rallied the district's thieves to confront a few investors brought in by the government. He incited them to organize a rob the rich to aid the poor competition. Using the guise of vying for the title of Thief King as bait, attracting thieves from across Feng'an district and even neighboring provinces to showcase their skills. Once the plan came to fruition, he faded into the background, while Feng'an district, having missed this development opportunity, left the government disheartened, inadvertently granting Uncle Feng several years of growth. As for those who emerged as successful thieves, they were not only apprehended by the police, but subsequently became targets of heightened scrutiny, effectively bringing their thieving careers to an end. Uncle Feng also leveraged the police's actions to suppress potential rivals. These individuals were truly foolish, chasing after the title of Thief King. Only those who roam freely can claim to be the true, crownless monarchs. Once under the watchful eye of the authorities, how could they ever aspire to achieve greatness again? Uncle Feng is particularly adept at extricating himself from situations, executing his plans without leaving a trace, ensuring that the police cannot trace any wrongdoing back to him. As long as he remains unapprehended, he can maintain Feng'an district as the perennial stronghold for thieves. Through years of meticulous management, Feng'an district has indeed become a lawless territory. Its reputation for handling stolen goods spreading far and wide. Those in the underworld have long whispered that there is no contraband too audacious for Feng'an district. The infamous S-class fugitive captured by Xiao Lan once fled from another province with the sole intention of disposing of stolen goods in Feng'an district. He was on the brink of success until an unforeseen obstacle appeared in his path. Returning to the matter at hand, Uncle Feng had begun to acclimate himself to the prospect of retirement. However, recent changes in Feng'an district have left him decidedly unsettled. He has sensed an unprecedented wave of threat that could obliterate the empire he has built over a lifetime. After 2 days of surveillance by his subordinates, and upon hearing their reports, he issued a decisive command: eliminate him. His subordinates were momentarily taken aback. They were thieves, accustomed to operating with a veil of secrecy, exercising caution and discretion. For years, they had adhered to a code of conduct that prioritized wealth accumulation without violence, and certainly without taking lives. Why then? Had Uncle Feng opted for such a radical course of action this time? Had they misunderstood his intentions? Did he mean to vandalize his vehicle or overturn his stall? Uncle Feng shook his head, a fleeting malevolence flashing across his seemingly benign features. Sever his hands, render him a cripple. Chapter 99. He yearns for advancement. Uncle Feng had hoped to resolve matters with a gentler approach. However, Xiao Lan's sudden emergence was akin to a thunderclap, transforming Feng'an district in mere days. If he remained passive, the influence of Xiao Lan would escalate exponentially, fueled by the power of the internet, leading to catastrophic consequences. Uncle Feng realized that drastic measures were necessary, akin to the commotion caused by the 8 great sects when they targeted the investors. But he had at least half a month to strategize back then. Now, time was not on his side, and he had no opportunity to mobilize his forces. He had to act decisively and swiftly. Uncle Feng envisioned a scene where both of Xiao Lan's arms would be severed and gruesomely displayed in the streets, provoking chaos and inciting the government's utter despair, leading them to abandon any attempts to salvage Feng'an district, allowing it to devolve into a true lawless zone. However, such ruthless measures would necessitate significant sacrifices, and his subordinates were apprehensive. They were thieves, not members of the mafia. Their audacity had limits, and they conducted their affairs in the shadows. Having enjoyed a life of luxury, complete with fine cars and beautiful companions, they were no longer expendable lives. They were reluctant to engage in such extreme exchanges and feared that reckless actions could endanger their own positions. After considerable negotiation, a compromise was reached. Severing limbs was deemed excessively bloody. Instead, they would target the tendons in his hands. This approach would achieve their objective while remaining relatively discreet. As long as it prevents him from conducting business, even the severing of a few fingers would suffice. This is relatively manageable. Targeting tendons and slicing off fingers can be accomplished with merely a sharp blade. Once the deed is done, one can depart discreetly, shrouded in anonymity. However, Severing an arm necessitates the use of a cleaver, a far more conspicuous objective that is difficult to conceal, and even before the act is executed, one risks being reported. Uncle Feng sighed, resigned to the situation. His subordinates, having served him for many years, mirrored his approach to life, each valuing their own existence. Gradually, he had receded to the background, allowing his subordinates to take the forefront in all matters. This particular task fell upon a subordinate known as Little Knife. True to his name, he wielded a blade with extraordinary finesse, a highly valuable technical talent within the team. Like many large corporations, technical experts often find themselves sidelined from management roles. While they are sought after for their skills, they are overlooked for promotions. Thus, he yearned for an opportunity to advance. When the higher-ups assigned the task, they instructed, sever the bun vendor's tendons or slice off his thumb, adjust as necessary, but ensure he can no longer make buns. Remember, act swiftly. This matter cannot be delayed. The superiors promised that this task was of great significance, and successful completion would grant him entry into management. No problem. Leave it to me. Everyone has their novice phase when it comes to handling blades. In his early days, Little Knife had accidentally injured others with a blade, so he possessed experience in causing harm. He was the most suitable candidate for this task. At that moment, Little Knife, masked and clad in a black hoodie, quietly appeared at the market. To succeed in his endeavor, audacity and meticulousness were essential. He needed to observe Xiao Lan and select the opportune moment to strike. To blend in with the crowd, he mingled among the queue, inching closer to Xiao Lan. Xiao Lan was fully engrossed in selling buns, spinning like a top. Despite the bitter cold of winter, he was sweating profusely. To avoid his sleeves interfering while handling the buns, he donned a pair of sleeve covers, tightening the cuffs. This left a portion of his fair wrist exposed, with prominent veins visible beneath the skin, ideal for evading blood vessels and cleanly severing tendons. Given the chill in the air, pain would be transmitted slowly. As long as Little Knife acted swiftly enough, he could escape before his victim even realized what had occurred. Contemplating this, a smirk crept onto Little Knife's face. One hand concealed in his pocket, he fiddled with a slender blade, his malicious gaze darting between Xiao Lan's wrist. Striking in public posed certain challenges, yet with the influx of outsiders, the chaos provided a perfect cover for his escape. The greater the challenge, the more exhilarated he felt. Xiao Lan noticed a pair of eyes fixated on him, gleaming with an unusual excitement and fervor. He realized, another familiar face from the pig trotter crowd. Today, such patrons were plentiful. Some gazed at him with tears welling in their eyes from afar, while others were so overwhelmed they even produced bubbles from their noses. Each returning customer from the pig trotter crowd seemed eager to rush to Xiao Lan's side, yearning to rekindle their connection. As fate would have it, the other customers in line formed a barrier akin to a galaxy, separating Xiao Lan from them. They patiently queued for an hour, hoping for a fleeting moment to meet Xiao Lan face to face. With a habitual mindset, Xiao Lan regarded the knife-wielding individual as just another seasoned customer, completely unguarded. It was not until he noticed the red light illuminating that he became alert. Such a vivid red light. He hadn't encountered such a striking hue in ages. This had to signify an A-class criminal. He swiftly looked up, only to see the knife wielder stepping into the detection zone of the food cart. In an instant, a criminal record flashed in Xiao Lan's mind. Knife wielder, A-class criminal, multiple thefts organized, involved in trafficking stolen goods, with significant monetary involvement, and numerous instances of causing bodily harm to others. Indeed, he was an A-class criminal, a considerable catch in the otherwise mediocre Fomin district. Xiao Lan was determined not to let this opportunity slip away. He quickly summoned reformed spicy pepper, True Feelings big mushroom, and inquisitive garlic crust to add to the assailant's food. However, he soon realized that he was selling buns, leaving him utterly dumbfounded. Alas, the filling of the buns was encased within, unlike pig trotters that could be dipped in sauce. What a miscalculation. He could only silently retract all 3 items. Feigning a bout of dizziness, he asked Lia Si to manage his line, claiming he needed to rest nearby. Once seated, he discreetly took a photo of the knife wielder with his phone and contacted the Fomin police station, requesting them to keep a close watch on the individual clad in a black hoodie. Unbeknownst to Xiao Lan, this action saved him. The knife wielder had already planned to strike when Xiao Lan handed over the buns, but unexpectedly, Xiao Lan clutched his head, claiming dizziness, and moved aside to rest. By the time the knife wielder regained his focus, he found himself at the front of the stall. What buns do you want? How many? It was Lia Si, who had taken Xiao Lan's place, juggling 2 lines of customers. After assisting one on the left, he promptly attended to one on the right, busily managing the flow. Even if the knife wielder wished to delay until Xiao Lan returned, the customers behind him would not permit it. Reluctantly, he abandoned his intentions, stating, 2 meat buns. Before long, Lia Si handed him 2 meat buns. As the knife wielder turned to leave, he cast several resentful glances at Xiao Lan, unwillingly departing. Consider yourself fortunate, he muttered under his breath, but tomorrow, your luck will run out. With that, he tore off his mask and stuffed a freshly bought bun into his mouth. Chapter 100. Alas, the protagonist is poorly read and can only exclaim in frustration when faced with adversity. As the bun entered his mouth, the murderous intent in the knife wielder's eyes dissipated like air escaping a balloon. He seemed frozen in place, unable to collect his thoughts for an extended moment. After several chews, he still gazed incredulously at the bun in his hand. Was this flavor truly delivered by the bun? How could such a powerful and intricate taste be encapsulated within such a small package? With each bite, he couldn't help but exclaim in awe. Regrettably, my limited education compels me to resort to exclamations of disbelief in moments of turmoil. He merely sought to fulfill his task, casually purchasing a couple of buns to mask his intentions. Little did he anticipate that these buns would be so exquisite. It is no wonder that a throng of people was queued up. Evidently, these buns possess an extraordinary level of deliciousness. He experienced a profound astonishment akin to opening a refrigerator only to discover an elephant nestled within. This refrigerator, or rather, the flavor of these buns, was remarkably all-encompassing and boundless. As he indulged, his eagerness led him to inadvertently bite his own finger. "Damn it," he exclaimed, truly inflicting pain upon himself, causing him to leap up in shock. The patron still waiting in line could no longer bear it, and finally spoke up. "Hey, young man, that's rather excessive. Can't you step aside to eat? Must you stand right in front of me, tempting my appetite? It's one thing to tempt me, but the sounds you're making are unbearable. There are dozens of people ahead of me, and I might just faint from hunger." The young man, feeling the pressure, cleared his throat and hastily departed. Unbeknownst to him, a plainclothes police officer had discreetly followed him. This officer had been dispatched by the Fenghan police station to patrol the Old Street Market and had recently received a tip-off from Xiaolan. To avoid revealing the system, Xiaolan had refrained from disclosing the nature of the man's past offenses, merely indicating that he appeared highly suspicious and instructing the station to keep a closer watch on him. Ideally, they would find a reason to bring him in for a thorough interrogation, potentially yielding surprising results. Thus, the officer trailed him, capturing a photograph while the young man removed his mask to enjoy a bun. A quick search through their police database revealed the man's identity. Records indicated that he had a history of petty crimes, but had seemingly turned his life around, remaining free from legal troubles for many years. Despite his seemingly clean record, one could not help but wonder what had drawn Xiaolan's attention to him. Nevertheless, since Xiaolan had made her intentions clear, the officer proceeded to relay the pertinent information. That evening, upon returning home, Xiaolan prepared 3 special meat buns, each infused with unique ingredients, 1 spicy, 1 mushroom-flavored, and 1 garlic-infused. As for their intended effect, those in the know would certainly understand. After wrapping them, she placed the buns in the freezer. When it comes to feeding criminals, freshness is of little concern. A makeshift offering suffices. The following day, before dawn broke, Xiaolan arrived at the market. She deliberately set the 3 enhanced buns in a specific corner, awaiting the arrival of her unsuspecting quarry. As fate would have it, the food cart soon encountered its intended customer, eagerly illuminating a red light. What kind of buns did he desire? Xiaolan gazed at the young man, unaware that he was concealing a small blade between his fingers. The young man replied, 10 meat buns, and, with a remarkably fluid motion, withdrew his hand from his pocket. His blade was custom-made, perfectly sized to fit between his fingers, with a diamond-edged blade. This knife was exceedingly sharp, capable of slicing through denim as effortlessly as one would cut through tofu. This was also the reason he had avoided capture subsequently. He had invested in a legendary weapon. Coupled with diligent strategy research, he swiftly underwent a transformation from novice to expert. Whenever he chose, he could easily sever Xiaolan's 4 fingers with a single strike. "Here you go." Xiaolan extended the carefully packaged buns toward him. It was an opportune moment. Faced with her outstretched wrist, it was the ideal time to strike. The dawn had yet to break fully, and the queue was scant. The morning market had not yet reached its bustling peak. Acting now would not only increase the likelihood of success, but also the chance of escape. Yet, inexplicably, his hand hesitated, gripped by a wavering resolve. Was he truly prepared to ruin the hand of the bun vendor? Such a remarkable pair of hands, if destroyed, would never again produce buns so delectable. In the midst of this brief indecision, customers began to urge him. "Are you buying or not? If not, let me go first." Of course he would buy. Swiftly, he took the buns from Xiaolan's hand, swallowed hard, and hurried away. Xiaolan watched his retreating figure, a triumphant smile gracing her lips. The 3 enhanced meat buns had already been concealed among the 10 ordinary ones. She eagerly anticipated the chemical reaction that would ensue if he consumed all 3 at once. However, Xiaolan could not have foreseen that before he could even take a bite, he was apprehended by the police. It turned out that after following Xiaolan's tip, the police had dispatched officers to surveil the previous night, where they discovered him hosting a group for a late-night mahjong game at his home. They played through the night, while the police remained on watch until they amassed enough evidence to warrant a charge of illegal gambling. Consequently, they swiftly summoned reinforcements to make arrests. Unfortunately, by the time they arrived, Xiao Dao had already left to buy buns. They captured a house full of people, all in pursuit of Xiao Dao, only to find he had escaped. Just as they were lamenting their misfortune, Xiao Dao returned, buns in hand. As he climbed the stairs, savoring his meal, a rich aroma enveloped him, seemingly intoxicating him with its allure. When the police seized his arm, he innocently queried, "What are you doing?" The officer smiled faintly, swiftly pinning him against the wall and cuffing him behind his back. "What do you think I'm doing?" Alas, It was said that as he was forcibly escorted to the car, his fingers clutched tightly to the bag of buns. Just before his arrest, he had consumed one bag, leaving another with 5 buns untouched. Whether this was fortunate or unfortunate for him was debatable. The 3 enhanced buns remained unscathed in the bag. Upon arrival at the police station, the officers conducted a thorough search, placing the confiscated buns and a blade on the table before ushering him into the interrogation room. Due to the sparse attendance at the station, the hall was empty following the gambling bust. When the chief arrived, he found the front hall deserted, save for a single bag of buns quietly exuding the scent of wheat. How curious, where has everyone gone? These rascals, why do they disdain the cafeteria buns so? In the past, even a couple of leftovers would have sufficed, yet now 5 remain. Have their appetites shrunk smaller than a girl's? Are they trying to diet? He lamented. They've never known hunger, and thus fail to appreciate the value of food. In former times, such fine buns made from premium flour would only be enjoyed during the new year. If they won't eat them, I shall. Muttering to himself, the chief picked up the bag of buns and made his way to his office. Before long, someone emerged from the interrogation room, scratching their head in confusion upon noticing the absence of 5 buns from the table. It felt as though something was amiss. A glance revealed that the confiscated blades and mobile phones remained intact, which offered some solace. As long as the vital evidence was secure, all was well. As the morning wore on, the precinct continued its operations as usual. Noticing the silence in the group chat, Xiao Lan, with genuine concern, inquired, "How is the individual we had you monitor yesterday faring now?" An officer responded, "Oh, we seized an opportunity to bring him to the station. He is currently under interrogation." "Has he confessed?" "Not yet." After a morning of questioning, the scoundrel and his accomplices only admitted to gambling. He claimed he was too hungry to sleep last night, which led him to play mahjong. He insisted this was not a frequent occurrence and requested leniency. The officer continued, "In his situation, our precinct can only detain him for a maximum of 24 hours. If we cannot uncover any further offenses, he will be sent to the detention center solely on the charges of illegal gambling." Xiao Lan expressed her bewilderment. "Did you not inquire about any other matters, such as theft or trafficking of stolen goods? Did he remain silent on those fronts?" "We did ask," the officer replied. "But the records indicate he committed theft in his youth. He claims to have reformed many years ago." Xiao Lan felt utterly perplexed. It made no sense. Having consumed his enhanced meat buns, there was no reason for him to remain unperturbed by noon. "Very well, I shall personally investigate the situation." After making a phone call to summon Lu Dongbin for assistance in wrapping things up, Xiao Lan set off alone to the precinct. Just as she entered, coinciding with lunchtime, a significant commotion erupted. "Whoa, my wife, I was wrong. I am truly sorry. I am such a fool." The precinct chief cradled his phone, disregarding any attempts at consolation, as he wept uncontrollably into the device, apologizing to his wife on the other end. "What have you done to wrong me? Speak." The voice on the other end belonged to the chief's wife, seething with fury. Even without the speakerphone, her voice resonated clearly, indicating the intensity of her outburst. Anyone receiving a call from their husband, who was sobbing and distressed, would inevitably conjure unsettling thoughts. "Are you involved with someone else? Have you engaged in illegal activities? Our son intends to apply to the police academy. At your age, do not lose your senses and jeopardize our son's prospects." The chief covered his mouth, shaking his head in denial through his tears. "No, Wu, it is not illegal." The chief's wife sighed in relief. "That is good. I nearly thought our lineage would be barred from public service." Yet, her relief was short-lived as her voice suddenly escalated. "If it is not a matter of discipline, then it must be a moral issue. Have you fathered an illegitimate child? You wretched man." Other officers rushed over to soothe the chief, suggesting that he discuss the matter at home rather than in a public setting. They were considerate of the chief's predicament, wishing they could suppress their curious expressions and appear less gossipy. At that moment, Xiao Lan grasped the gravity of the situation. Goodness! Those 3 enhanced buns could not have all ended up in the chief's stomach. Alas, this is a matter that could lead to social demise. He could only assist in pulling the director into the office while suppressing his eagerness to eavesdrop. "My dear, there are 2 matters I have concealed from you for over 30 years. I must speak of them. I can no longer keep them hidden, for my conscience would be troubled." On the other end of the line, the director's wife's voice nearly cracked. "What? You've kept this from me for over 30 years? Does that mean when we just got married?" "My dear, in truth, my double eyelids are surgically enhanced." The director, with a face full of embarrassment, finally confessed. "I heard from the matchmaker that you desired a husband with prominent double eyelids to improve the genetics of our offspring. I am sorry I deceived you. To secure the opportunity to court you, I secretly underwent surgery and misled the matchmaker into believing my double eyelids were natural. Thus, our son's monolid and puffy eyelids are not your fault. It is my issue." After a moment of silence, the voice on the other end responded, "Is that all? Who cannot tell that your double eyelids are fake? The technique was so poor that during our courtship, your eyelids were as swollen as a frog's." "Do not divert the conversation. What else have you hidden from me? Have you been stashing away secret funds?" The director hesitated but continued, "Yes, but that is not the main point. I have other matters to disclose." "How can that not be the main point? First, disclose where you hide this secret money. Then tell me what else you have concealed." Rationality urged the director to refrain from revealing, Yet having consumed the garlic-flavored dumplings, his reason faltered. I have hidden my secret funds beneath the sofa, within the large vase in the living room, and in the soil of the butterfly orchid. A few minutes later, the director's wife's voice came through the phone. All right, you actually do have hidden funds. You must be using it to buy cigarettes, am I right? The director replied honestly, waiting like a schoolboy for a reprimand. His wife did not hold back, chastising him thoroughly. Do you even wish to live a few more years? Do you dare smoke, knowing your health condition? Besides this, is there anything else you have kept from me? Yes, there is more. The director confessed without any intent of resistance. Do you remember the entrepreneur who was recently interviewed by the local media? You even praised him for looking quite handsome for his age. When asked if I knew him, I said I did not. In truth, I know him well. We were bunkmates in school. He once asked me to deliver a love letter to you. Goodness, is this true? What a revelation. Everyone else silently savored the gossip. At that time, I was holding the love letter when I spotted you at your school gate, but I did not deliver it. My classmate was quite the philanderer. Not long ago, he caused a girl to become pregnant and undergo an abortion. Is this true, such a scandal? Did the previous generation indulge in such frivolity? Thus, the narrative unfolds, leaving a trail of astonishment and intrigue. I discreetly concealed the love letter and later told him that I had discarded it since he did not accept my feelings. Subsequently, he became entangled with another girl, leading to an unwanted pregnancy, yet he refused to take responsibility. Eventually, when the girl's parents intervened, he was expelled. I ceased all communication with him thereafter. The next I heard, he had married the only daughter of a local entrepreneur. Rumor has it that during a class reunion, he drunkenly boasted of having won over both his mother-in-law and daughter, which reportedly infuriated his father-in-law to the point of death, thereby cutting off his lineage. Despite his current seemingly successful facade, I assure you, his character is lacking. You wouldn't hold me responsible for severing your ties with him back then, would you? I swear. While I may have harbored a hint of selfish affection upon first seeing you, my primary concern was always for your well-being. He possesses only a few superficial advantages over me. Handsomeness, larger eyes, wider eyelids, greater height, a more prominent nose, more charming speech, and now, greater wealth. But in essence, he pales in comparison. My dear wife, please do not be angry with me. I have concealed these matters from you, but there is nothing else to hide. Xiao Lan and the officers were left astounded by the unfolding drama. The chief speculated whether the entrepreneur mentioned was the same one who had recently appeared on television for an interview. What a twist. Not only were they privy to the chief's secrets, but also to those of a renowned businessman, while he projected an image of integrity and philanthropy. It was astonishing to learn of his hidden escapades. Before anyone could fully process this shocking revelation, another surprise arrived. The chief's wife stormed into the office. Rushing to the chief's side, and with tears streaming down his face, she anxiously inquired, "Old man, your behavior today is unusual. Have you discovered something grave? Stop your wailing and speak. Did your health take a turn for the worse? If you're unwell, we must address it promptly, rather than dilly-dallying about frivolous matters." In a moment of vulnerability, the chief embraced his wife's legs, disregarding the presence of others, and sobbed, "I am not ill. I simply feel an overwhelming sense of guilt. Please do not be angry with me. I did not intend for this to happen, although I did purposely disrupt your relationship. He is not a good person." The chief's wife, both amused and exasperated, felt unsure of where to direct her gaze. "Enough. I have no interest in him. His affairs have long been the talk of our school. When I first heard you were inquiring about me, I thought you were going to confess your feelings. Yet, you never dared to speak to me even after all those times lurking at the school gates. After graduation, when you sent a matchmaker to propose, I knew it was you. I purposely mentioned wanting someone with double eyelids to tease you, only to find you had gone to get surgery. If only you had shown such initiative during our school days, we would already have grandchildren by now, and there would be no need for late marriage and parenthood." The officers in the precinct were caught off guard, inundated with a flood of romantic revelations. How delightful to discover that what they assumed was a case of love following marriage was, in fact, a mutual secret affection. One officer lamented, "Well, it seems we haven't even had lunch yet, and now we find ourselves full from this love story instead. By the way, Comrade Xiao, did you come here to see the suspect involved in the gambling ring? Shall I take you to see it now?" "No need. I am already aware of the situation," sighed Xiaolan. Although he was perplexed as to how the buns intended for that grade A criminal ended up in the director's stomach, the deed was done, and swift action was required to remedy the situation. Fortunately, Xiaolan's system warehouse still contained a number of treasures, but the challenge lay in how to ensure that the criminal would consume them. "By the way, you have a cafeteria, correct?" "Yes," came the reply. Xiaolan's eyes brightened. "Then you must have flour." The officer, puzzled, responded, "Perhaps not anymore. The buns we had for breakfast were freshly made. However, they were so unpalatable that we often had leftovers. The head chef declared that there would be no more buns in the future. Today, I suspect we've run out of flour." "Ah, what a pity. I thought, since I'm here, why not prepare a batch of buns for you all?" Upon hearing Xiaolan's suggestion, excited voices echoed from all directions. "Yes, we can get flour. Flour will be here shortly." Before Xiaolan could process the situation, a group of individuals hoisted him off to the cafeteria as though he were a sack of grain. When he regained his senses, he found himself in the kitchen. an apron tied around his waist and a knife thrust into his hand. "Plainclothes officer, please prepare the filling. The flour will arrive soon." Watching the jubilant figures depart, Xiaolon could only smile helplessly. There was no other option. To ensure a criminal received enriched buns, he had to cater to the entire precinct. Fortunately, the police station was not overcrowded, and the number of detained criminals was manageable. Otherwise, he would have been overwhelmed. The head chef, upon learning that Xiaolon was a police officer and had come to prepare a meal for everyone, readily cooperated, providing him with the necessary ingredients. The refrigerator contained pork of average quality, yet it was undeniably fresh. However, the amount of pork was insufficient, so he would have to supplement it with other ingredients for the filling. Utilizing local resources, there was also cabbage available in the cafeteria, delivered fresh each morning. Time was of the essence, so Xiaolon swiftly washed and chopped the ingredients. Initially, the head chef stood by, ready to offer guidance. But when Xiaolon began his task, the chef was left dumbfounded. What remarkable skill! It was the first time he had witnessed someone chop meat without splattering bits everywhere. The pieces falling into place as if they were soldiers obeying a general's command, neatly arranged. The large bowl of filling would have made any burly chef break a sweat. Yet Xiaolon, tall and slender, managed it with surprising ease. It was as though the knife in his hand was a magical blade, slicing through the meat effortlessly. As Xiaolon carried the filling to the side, the chef could not resist sneaking closer to examine the knife. How peculiar! Wasn't this the very knife he commonly used? While it was indeed a fine knife, it couldn't possibly make cutting meat as effortless as slicing through tofu, could it? He was utterly baffled, unable to comprehend the situation. Chapter 102. As white as snow on the mountain, as bright as the moon in the clouds while Xiaolon continued to mix the filling. The officers returned with the newly purchased flour. This was originally their lunch and break time, yet they now find themselves famished, bustling about with laughter akin to blooming flowers. Heaven knows how long they have been craving Xiaolan's delectable buns. They are young, often scrolling through Douyin, captivated by numerous streamers praising the exquisite taste of handmade buns. However, each person has different shifts and areas of duty, and with an influx of visitors from afar, they have been particularly busy. Sometimes, they are assigned to patrol the market, unable to attend to personal matters during work hours, merely passing by the bun stall without indulging. People from all corners of the world have savored these buns, yet they have not had the pleasure. Now, with Xiaolon voluntarily delivering warmth, the moment of tasting these buns has finally arrived. "Comrades, is there anything we can assist you with?" Xiaolon inquired, setting down the bun filling. "Perfect timing. You can help me mix the filling while I knead the dough." The head chef, eager to learn, exclaimed, "I'll assist you." Subsequently, Xiaolan's adept kneading of the dough left the head chef in awe once more. It appeared as though Xiaolon effortlessly achieved the perfect texture of the dough with just a few motions. The chef was still admiring the technique when Xiaolon paused. Once Xiaolon began to wrap the buns, completing one in mere seconds, the chef finally recognized him. You are the one from the market," he exclaimed in astonishment, covering his mouth, wanting to speak but hesitating, unable to contain his excitement. Xiaolan's method of wrapping buns had already circulated online, attracting countless chefs who specifically came to observe. Many fervently discussed in the comments where Xiaolon had honed his craft. However, Xiaolon had been wearing a mask at that time, leaving no one aware of his appearance. Who could have imagined that this internet-famous handmade bun stall owner was, in fact, a police officer? Could it be that culinary arts are now part of police training? As for his culinary lineage, he hails from the police academy. In a few years, more officers like Xiaolon will emerge, transforming the police station's cafeteria into a place where officers take turns cooking, much like their shifts. The head chef was suddenly engulfed by a profound sense of crisis, sensing the impending threat of unemployment. Clinging to a sliver of hope, he thought, "Perhaps Xiaolan's buns merely appear more appealing. I suspect the taste will not be far off from mine." Just as soldiers fold their bedding into neat squares while ordinary folks simply crumple theirs, the former certainly looks more impressive, yet neatness does not contribute to warmth. With the same ingredients, surely Xiaolon cannot craft buns that surpass his own in flavor? Half an hour later, the head chef held a steaming bun, tears welling in his eyes. Without even tasting it, he realized he had utterly lost. He was baffled, despite using the same technique of hand kneading. His dough turned out uneven and coarse, with a rough texture that left an unpleasant aftertaste in his throat. The disparity in color was striking. The buns crafted by him appeared yellowed, as if they had been sitting for days, despite being freshly made that very morning. In stark contrast, the buns prepared by Xiaolon resembled the pristine snow atop a mountain, radiant as the moon amidst the clouds. He hesitated to take a bite, fearing he would mar a masterpiece. Yet, if he refrained from indulging, others would certainly seize the opportunity. Observing the officers devouring the buns with unrestrained zeal, he realized that delaying even a moment could result in their disappearance. How extraordinarily delectable they were. The cabbage and pork buns, bursting with juice and freshness. I shall never again claim that the cabbage in our cafeteria is fit only for swine. My goodness, with my eyes closed. It felt as though I were dining at a state banquet. Only upon opening them did I recall I was still in the cafeteria. Not a moment of my sacrificed lunch break was wasted, waiting specifically for this feast of buns. The delight of consuming something fresh out of the oven is unparalleled. Unlike the usual cafeteria fare, which could be enjoyed at any time, the head chef, clutching a bun, scurried away, seeking refuge in a corner where he could escape the scathing remarks. Please, no more criticism. I promise to hone my culinary skills. The entire precinct was enveloped in a warm, inviting aroma when Xiao Lan, at that moment, produced his secret recipe buns. We do have a few suspects in interrogation, don't we? Let us send them a couple of buns. We mustn't let them go hungry, lest outsiders accuse us of mistreating them. Upon hearing this, the officers were immediately resistant, vocally protesting. Why should we give such delicious buns to them? I say, let them have the usual cafeteria buns. A few of those would surely equate to a form of rigorous interrogation, compelling them to confess. The chef, now cornered, felt another stab of despair. He silently took a bite of his bun, swallowing it with a sense of resignation. Fortunately, this was merely an expression of frustration, although the officers were reluctant. They ultimately delivered the buns to the interrogation room. Through the one-way glass, Xiao Lan observed as the A-class suspect consumed the bun, finally feeling a sense of reassurance. The effects of the garlic-infused buns manifested swiftly. Once the officers had their fill and took a brief respite, they resumed their duties, commencing a new round of interrogation. This time, the suspect did not resist. He answered every question posed. The police believed the relentless questioning had finally broken down his psychological defenses. Unaware of the subtle shifts taking place, and eagerly began documenting his statements. Meanwhile, Xiao Lan received an alert from the system. Ding. A-class criminal has confessed. The capture is deemed effective. Reward, 100,000 yuan and 1,000 points. Please continue your diligent efforts. The 100,000 yuan made his visit worthwhile. Xiao Lan was so moved he nearly wept. He had little inclination to concern himself with subsequent matters and hurried home to catch up on sleep. This was the optimal time for him to rest after his nocturnal schedule, and now it felt like he was burning the midnight oil. As Xiao Lan returned home, the interrogation at the precinct achieved a significant breakthrough. The suspect not only admitted to training apprentices and orchestrating multiple thefts, but also revealed several fencing locations and the methods employed in selling stolen goods. This was an unexpected boon for the police. Capturing this suspect would lead to the apprehension of a whole network of apprentices and several fencing shops. At that time, by interrogating the shop owner and investigating the regular patrons, another wave of arrests could be made. Now that is what one might call a big catch. Remarkable indeed. No wonder the plainclothes officers from the precinct are so astute. In just a fleeting moment, they discerned that the little knife was a substantial target. How else could one have qualified for the precinct? Truly impressive, with a keen eye and a multitude of talents. A few officers from the local station smacked their lips, reminiscing about the dumplings that Xiao Lan had prepared for them, momentarily filled with longing. How they wished to be transferred to the precinct. The officers there possessed not only culinary skills, but also exceptional work abilities. They yearned to become their colleagues. Indeed, the most crucial aspect is culinary prowess. With such adept undercover agents, the precinct's cafeteria must surely offer exquisite meals. Enough of this chatter. I must perform splendidly to secure a recommendation for a position at the precinct. What? You dare compete with me? I shall undoubtedly outshine you. Uncle Feng was still awaiting good news from the little knife, yet what he received was the grim tidings of several second-hand stores being shut down. Simultaneously, news emerged that the little knife had been apprehended for illegal gambling. Useless. Wasn't it instructed that we seek someone loyal and of clean background for this task? How could we end up with such a character? Uncle Feng, who had long restrained his anger, erupted into furious curses. For many years, he had maintained the facade of a kingpin, emulating the demeanor of a cinematic godfather, flaunting his pretentiousness. However, he had only mastered the exterior of a rogue, not the essence. At his core, he remained an uneducated thief. Uncle Feng, this little knife genuinely has a clean background and exceptional skills. There has been no prior indication of gambling addiction. Who could have anticipated that he would succumb just these past few days? This is a grave error. Fortunately, we have been cautious and did not allow him into the core management. He only knows a few secondary lines for disposing of stolen goods, nothing about the principal operations. Can't we trace it? Uncle Feng suddenly interrupted them. If you claim the little knife has no gambling addiction, why did he falter just these past few days? It is quite possible that the police set a trap, enticing him into their web. Moreover, within a day of his capture, the police extracted information about the disposal of stolen goods from him. This does not resemble a person who has never been under suspicion. It's likely they have been monitoring him for quite some time. The others fell silent, finding Uncle Feng's words profoundly reasonable and chilling upon reflection. If the police could pry open the little knife's mouth, they could follow the leads to uncover even more individuals. The current law enforcement employs numerous advanced technological methods, unlike in the past. After a lengthy contemplation, Uncle Feng tightened his grip on the dragon-headed cane, making a significant decision. It appears the situation is far worse than my most pessimistic predictions. We have reached a crucial moment of life and death. Decisive action must be taken to divert the police's attention while completely halting the influx of outsiders. What significant action? Someone inquired, yet upon meeting Uncle Feng's fierce gaze, they fell silent in fear. Engaging in illicit industries will inevitably lead one to cross into darker realms. The difference lies in Uncle Fang's early realization of this truth, while others have yet to comprehend it. The following day, at dawn, the sky was dimly lit. Throughout the winter, the moon had kept watch longer than the sun, its face drawn and weary, hanging lifelessly in the sky. The sparse moonlight glimmered like the cold gleam of a blade being sharpened. The food truck, driven by an unyielding spirit against malice, made its way towards the market. Today, the driver was a rare change. Lia Si was at the wheel while Xiao Lan dozed in the back. After a visit to the police station yesterday, where he had prepared a batch of buns, he had sacrificed 2 hours of sleep. This morning, he struggled to rise, only managing to muster some energy after hastily consuming a revitalizing apple. Indeed, in the breakfast trade, one must be diligent to thrive. He longed for the tasks to conclude swiftly, as fatigue weighed heavily upon him. As the vehicle cruised along, it suddenly screeched to a halt. Xiao Lan quickly steadied the teetering steamer and inquired, "What's wrong?" Lia Si's irritable voice responded, "It's happening again. Another tree branch blocking the road. I'm truly exasperated." Peering outside, Xiao Lan spotted a massive branch sprawled across the road, obstructing their path. It seemed that after a brief respite, trouble had resurfaced once more. "Let me show them a lesson," Lia Si declared, preparing to exit the vehicle. However, Xiao Lan was struck by the alarming glow of the food truck's red warning light. Simultaneously, a series of criminal records flooded his mind. Son, multiple instances of provoking trouble. Intentional injury, current status, just released from prison. Li, frequent solicitation, drug trafficking, organized gambling, domestic violence resulting in disability, current status, just released from prison. Fong, multiple robberies, intentional injury leading to severe harm, current status, just released from prison. A continuous stream of recently released offenders surrounded them, shrouded in darkness, hiding in the shadows. "Do not exit the vehicle. Accelerate," Xiao Lan urgently shouted. Though Lia Si's mind was not the quickest, he always heeded his brother's words. "Hold on tight," he exclaimed, pressing the accelerator and shifting into high gear, charging towards the treetop. Lia Si's intention was merely to evade the thick trunk. But as they approached, several figures abruptly emerged from behind the tree. To his horror, these individuals brandished long, menacing knives, their gleaming blades exuding an unsettling chill. A mere glance was sufficient to conjure images of bloodstained steel. Had Lia Si disembarked to clear the branch, those knives would have descended upon him mercilessly. "By heavens!" Lia Si exclaimed, fear coursing through him, causing the vehicle to tremble. Xiao Lan, too, felt the hair on his neck stand on end, shivers traversing his spine. It was inconceivable that a simple bun-selling endeavor could attract such violent misfortune. The assailants, thwarted in their ambush, were now reinforced by others. A total of 3 groups surged towards the vehicle, surrounding it with slashing blades. One individual even hurled a knife directly into the cab. Xiao Lan swiftly retreated inside, seizing the steamer as a shield. The clang of metal echoed as he successfully intercepted the blade. Meanwhile, Lia Si faced a dire predicament. The front of the vehicle was exposed, with only 2 plastic doors hastily added by Xiao Lan to fend off the wind. The plastic door was no match for steel, easily yielding to a few knife strikes, and before long, a blade had penetrated. Lia Si hurriedly swerved the vehicle, ramming the side of the truck to send one of the assailants flying, just as it seemed that his legs could not outpace the 3 wheels. And he was about to break free from the encirclement. A loud crash resonated from beneath. The vehicle shook violently, and Xiao Lan distinctly felt the compartment lift, with the gas canister and steamer pressing down upon him. This was dire. They had removed the manhole cover, and the front of the vehicle was sinking. Lia Si's panicked voice echoed from the front, plunging Xiao Lan's heart into despair. He quickly released the accelerator and shifted gears to neutral. The wheels, spinning chaotically in the air, finally came to a halt, and the truck thudded back down onto the ground. Fortune had favored them, as the front wheels were stuck in the drain, yet the vehicle remained upright, and they were unscathed. However, they were surrounded by a pack of wolves, each wielding machetes. Their luck had seemingly run out. It was over. It was truly disastrous. "Xiao Lan, call the police immediately. Do not come out. I should be able to hold them off," Lia Si thought, resigned to his fate. He was at least robust and physically imposing, capable of fending off an initial wave. But Xiao Lan, frail as a bean sprout, could easily be cleaved in 2. It was best for Xiao Lan to stay in the compartment and call for help. Just as Lia Si clenched his fists, preparing to confront the tempest, he suddenly felt something leap out from the compartment. The vehicle seemed to transform into a launching pad, jolting him back into his seat. When he regained his senses, he saw Xiao Lan rushing back, brandishing an enormous tree branch from the middle of the road. "Ah!" Xiao Lan bellowed, swinging the gigantic branch, which was taller than himself. With great vigor, the branch swept through the air like a multitude of whips, sending the knife-wielding assailants sprawling. They desperately hacked at the branch, scattering leaves in every direction. Yet, a watermelon knife, so slender, could barely slice through a watermelon, let alone withstand the might of wood. "Damn!" Lia Si exclaimed in astonishment. Was this truly the Xiao Lan he knew? With such a thick tree branch, lifting it was no small feat. Xiao Lan wielded it like a halberd, sweeping aside countless foes. Little did he know, prior to leaping from the compartment, Xiaolan had exhausted all his points to purchase several strengthening apples, consuming them vigorously. Now, he was akin to the legendary Lu Bu among men and the red hare among steeds. A mere handful of armed thugs stood no chance of closing in. Weapons are defined by their length. The longer the weapon, the greater its power. The tree branch in Xiaolan's hands was 5 times the length of a watermelon knife. No matter how sharp the blade, as long as they could not approach, they were destined to be struck down. Moreover, the branch had several large forks, resembling a cluster of steel prongs, each capable of toppling an assailant. Those thieves, undeterred, thought that Xiaolan would eventually tire, waiting for his ultimate move to enter a cooldown period. Yet, they did not anticipate that the food truck's emergency alert system would respond faster than any cooldown could arrive. The police station received a direct order from the command center and swiftly rushed to provide assistance. The alternating red and blue lights pierced through the darkness, coinciding with the moment when day and night converged and dawn broke in the east. Don't move. Lay down your weapons. Surrender immediately. As the faint morning light illuminated the scene, the officers were taken aback by what lay before them. There stood Xiaolan, wielding an enormous bare tree branch as if it were a colossal spatula. Each fleeing criminal, barely rising to their feet, was swiftly flattened against the ground with a resounding thud. Dust and fallen leaves swirling around them. Any who dared to struggle found the branch descending upon them. One strike, and they remained silent. The criminals lay sprawled like pancakes beside a food cart, faces down, limbs twitching, surrounded by a scattering of dozens of watermelon knives. In that moment, the officers were at a loss as to whom they should order to lay down their arms. Xiaolan looked up, her face brimming with delight. You finally arrived. Officers, please apprehend them. They tried to stab me. It was terrifying. Upon hearing her words, the officers exchanged glances, feeling an inexplicable sense of dread towards Xiaolan instead. After a blaring of sirens, a dozen knife-wielding assailants were taken back to the station for interrogation. Meanwhile, Xiaolan and her companions hurried to inspect the vehicle and the steamer. With the police's assistance, the vehicle was extracted from the ditch. The wheels were unharmed, and the vehicle started up without issue. As for the steamer, despite enduring a significant impact and being struck by flying knives, it bore no trace of damage. Not only was the exterior unscathed, but even the bowsy inside remained unaffected. Truly, it was a marvel of the system, the airtight steamer, designed to be impervious to external forces while allowing for perfect ventilation inside. Considering that Xiaolan's stall had become a trendy hotspot, her absence for a day could have significant repercussions on local tourism promotion. Thus, she proposed, let's first take the bowsy to the market, find someone to watch the stall, and then head to the police station to assist with the investigation. All right, but please prioritize your safety, the officers advised, leaving a few of their own to accompany them before departing with the apprehended criminals. The gravity of the situation necessitated immediate escalation to higher authorities. Given that Xiaolan had been surrounded and attacked by a dozen armed men, it was unfathomable to think that had it not been for her remarkable courage, an ordinary officer might have faced a tragic fate. Soon, 2 trusted assistants were summoned to oversee the stall. The bowsy stand had become fixed in location, with many out-of-town visitors recognizing the stall rather than its operators. Thus, a change in personnel would have minimal impact. Xiaolan and Lia Si made their way to the police station, where the interrogation was yielding results. The assailants had confessed, revealing that someone had offered a substantial sum of money for them to incapacitate Xiaolan. While they did not disclose the motive, it was clear that their employer was willing to spend lavishly, enough to allow them a life of ease for the remainder of their days. With their plot foiled and the money gone, these seasoned criminals, having recently served time, understood that cooperating could mitigate their sentences, and they began to spill their secrets like beans tumbling from a sack. Following the lead they had identified, a vast web of connections gradually unfurled. Upon hearing that the gang's attempt to attack Xiaolan had failed, Uncle Feng wasted no time in gathering his belongings, preparing to depart. Having chosen this perilous path, he was well prepared for both outcomes. Should his plan succeed, he would sever ties with half of his enterprises, allowing a few to take the fall while he concealed himself in the shadows. In the aftermath, the infamous reputation of Feng'an district would deter tourists, and control would inevitably revert to him. Conversely, if he were to fail, he would cut all ties to his businesses, abandon his subordinates, and flee to distant lands. Regardless of the fate that awaited Feng'an district, he would no longer be concerned, enjoying a peaceful retirement abroad with the wealth he had managed to cleanse. Although it was premature for the police to trace the matter back to him, and perhaps they might never do so, he remained exceedingly cautious, unwilling to take unnecessary risks. After years in the trade, his survival hinged on the wisdom of adapting to circumstances. A desperate gamble, yielding no results, would prompt an immediate retreat, safeguarding his own well-being. Yet, departing meant relinquishing a lifetime of hard work, leaving him with a sense of lingering resentment. He heard that the dumpling vendor had been pursued that morning yet continued to operate his stall without disruption. Uncle Feng felt a twinge of discontent. Why was it that he had risked everything, while that insignificant dumpling vendor faced no consequences? Could this trivial business of selling dumplings ever compare to the empire he had painstakingly built? The earliest flight was scheduled for that afternoon. Before his departure, Uncle Feng wished to meet the dumpling vendor who had unwittingly brought an end to his illustrious life. In a manner reminiscent of the dramatic farewells often seen in classic films, he sought to confront his adversary one last time. Leaning on his cane, he stood before the stall with the poise of an elegant magnate, quietly gazing at the vendor from a distance. Chapter 104. What a hero. A few years in prison, and he becomes compliant observing the unremarkable Xiaolon. Uncle Feng arrogantly mused. Does this ordinary citizen comprehend that he stands before a formidable figure who has transformed Fenghan district into a whirlwind of chaos? Likely not, he reasoned. After all, Xiaolon was merely a chef, a tireless ant preoccupied with the struggles of daily life, devoid of any understanding of fading glory or unfulfilled ambitions. I do not concede defeat to you, Uncle Feng muttered softly, as if to himself. What are you really? The government mobilized the entire city against him, leaving him with a sense of regret in his defeat. You are but a trivial pawn. It is my existence that grants you the privilege of being placed on the board. As Uncle Feng regarded Xiaolon, he was unaware that Xiaolon had already caught sight of him from the corner of his eye. At that moment, Xiaolon, emboldened by his own skills, had returned to the market after leaving the police station, deliberately becoming a target for undercover officers. He sensed an older man staring intently at him, adorned with a mundane yet self-assured smile. Had Xiaolon possessed the ability to read minds, he might have retorted, a criminal, and yet he fancies himself a poet. What a hero or a coward he is, merely an inconsequential figure, destined to become compliant after a few years behind bars. At the two ends of the bustling crowd, a thief and an undercover agent exist, both identities shrouded in secrecy. Yet, they are akin to similarly colored excrement and chocolate, merely sharing a hue, rendering any comparison utterly unnecessary. It is indeed absurd for a piece of excrement to disdain the faint aroma of chocolate, lamenting that it lacks the powerful stench of its own. In a matter of breaths, Uncle Feng approached Xiaolon, disregarding all those queuing nearby. He produced 100 yuan and offered, I'll pay 10 times the price for a bun from you. What do you say? Xiaolon's expression shifted. It was not the outrageous offer that startled him, but rather the sudden flash of a notification in his mind from the snack cart. Feng Danian, S-class criminal, head of a theft and trafficking ring, involved in massive amounts. Hired for murder. Upon hearing's class criminal, Xiaolon was already too exhilarated to heed the subsequent details of the announcement. The head of a theft and trafficking ring. Though he was unaware why this big fish had taken the bait, he was resolute that once ensnared, escape would be impossible. Uncle Feng perceived Xiaolon's fleeting excitement, misconstruing it as the delight of an ordinary citizen in the presence of wealth. This is rather inappropriate, with so many people waiting, he remarked, feigning modesty. However, Xiaolon's hand had already reached for the pre-prepared enhanced bun. Unexpectedly, the elder deviated from the norm, chuckling. Indeed, it's quite inappropriate. He then pulled out a wad of cash, roughly 1,000 yuan, and turned to a customer purchasing buns, stating, I'll give you 1,000 for all your buns. What do you think? The customer, overjoyed, nodded fervently. Yes, absolutely. No problem. Xiaolon's expression darkened. Goodness, he had merely been polite. Yet this old man escalated the price 100-fold to buy someone else's buns. This was pure provocation. Nevertheless, it mattered not. He could simply place the enhanced bun into the customer's order. Seeing the sudden disappointment in Xiaolon's eyes, Uncle Feng's arrogance and smugness became glaringly evident. To him, to toy with an ordinary person was akin to playing with a dog. He had come to assert dominance over the bun vendor, vent his frustrations, and fulfill a sense of ritual. Having vented his ire, he prepared to leave. Little did he know the monumental price he would pay for such a juvenile act. Xiaolon took out his phone and snapped a picture of Uncle Feng's retreating figure. No words were necessary. The few plainclothes officers who had accompanied him silently followed suit. Their next encounter occurred in the interrogation room that night. Through the one-way glass, Xiaolon listened to Uncle Feng's confessions via the speaker. After returning home, he had quietly consumed the enhanced bun. When the police intercepted him at the airport, the effects of the substance were just beginning to manifest. Upon his return, he answered every question posed, revealing the entirety of his entrepreneurial journey without pause, speaking for hours, only taking a few sips of water. It proved challenging for the officers responsible for the interrogation. They would need to rotate in and out frequently. As the individuals emerged, their faces flushed, they stepped outside, taking deep breaths. Oh my goodness, what on earth has this person eaten? Their breath is foul. It was almost rivaling the stench of the director's breath. It was remarkable that the director's wife could still bear to kiss him. Truly, love knows no bounds. Suddenly, the director appeared from a shadowed corner, his face reddened, clenching his fists in protest. I only had bad breath that one day. It's not a daily occurrence. The perceptive Xiaolon merely touched his nose, feigning disinterest in the matter. Fortunately, no one suspected him. After all, many had consumed buns, and if others did not have foul breath, it was undoubtedly a personal issue. The director cleared his throat and lightly coughed a few times to capture everyone's attention. Seizing the moment, he discreetly exhaled into his palm to ascertain whether his breath was indeed odorous. Once he confirmed it was not, he declared, let us quickly organize the suspect's confession. I have a meeting tonight with colleagues from the sub-bureau to discuss this. Based on Uncle Feng's prior confession, Even a mere fragment had already alerted the director to the remarkable identity of the suspect. He promptly made a call to the heads of the Feng'an and Chengdong sub-bureaus involved in the special operation against theft. Everyone felt the timing was perfect. They needed to devise a capture plan before the rest of the gang realized that their leader, Uncle Feng, had been apprehended. They planned to initiate the operation that very night. Ideally, the meeting would have been held at the Feng'an sub-bureau, which had a larger conference room. However, since the Feng'an sub-bureau had relocated to New Street, which was rather distant, they decided to forego formality due to the pressing time constraints and convene right at the Feng'an police station, arranging a few tables for the meeting. As the undercover officer leading this special operation, Xiaolon could not afford to miss this meeting, especially since he had been the one to sense the clues regarding both the knife and Uncle Feng, prompting the officers to conduct surveillance. Otherwise, this would have been his time for a much-needed nap. An hour later, the action leaders from both sub-bureaus and other local stations arrived. Naturally, the representative from the Chengdong sub-bureau was Old Lu. Upon spotting Xiaolon from a distance, he gave him a thumbs up. As he approached, he excitedly patted Xiaolon on the shoulder. "Well done. You were given 2 weeks to complete the investigation, and you've already hooked the leader. I must report this and commend you for your great achievement." Chapter 105. The heartfelt love of a son for his father. Xiaolon smiled. He held no obsession with accolades. After all, as an undercover officer, even if he achieved recognition, he could hardly publicize it. The reward of 200,000 yuan and 2,000 points for capturing an S-class criminal was already sufficient. If they managed to apprehend more of the remaining accomplices tonight, his points and rewards would see a significant increase. These were benefits he had effortlessly acquired, and it would be unreasonable to desire more. Thus, what he most wanted to know was, will I still have to set up my stall tomorrow? Old Lu pondered for a moment before suggesting, let us proceed with the meeting first, and afterward, I will inquire about the arrangements. Agreed. The meeting then proceeded to last a full 2 hours. At the outset of the meeting, Xiaolon briefly recounted the undercover operations he had undertaken recently, but the subsequent discussions revolved entirely around arrest tactics. The focal point of today's meeting was the upcoming apprehensions. Thus Xiaolon's observations regarding the peculiarities of Xiao Dao and Uncle Feng were merely glossed over. Indeed, specialization breeds expertise. When Xiaolon served as a judge at the Global Elite Chef competition, he could stand for hours, fully alert, observing the performances of various contestants. In stark contrast, as the meeting delved into strategies for capturing criminals, while others passionately debated and nearly resorted to throwing water bottles in their fervor, he found himself fighting off drowsiness, barely managing to keep his eyes open by propping them up with his fingers. Noticing his struggle, Old Lu leaned in and whispered, "You're off the hook for the rest of this. Pretend to go to the restroom, find a place to rest, and I'll call you when it's time to act. You one team need to take the lead, just observe and learn." Grateful, Xiaolon exchanged a look of understanding with Old Lu before discreetly exiting the conference room. As soon as the door closed behind him, his eyelids succumbed to fatigue, and he could only manage to crack them open slightly to navigate his way, staggering like a tipsy truck driver. Suddenly, he sensed he was about to collide with something and instinctively reached out, thinking it was a wall, only to inadvertently topple the wall over. The Bureau of Security. Others exclaimed in alarm, hurriedly rushing to assist the director. Xiaolon, belatedly realizing he had not pushed a wall but a person, rushed forward to offer support. However, just as he approached, he stumbled and accidentally bumped his head into the recently upright director. The startled onlookers dispersed in panic, while the director emitted a high-pitched yelp, bracing himself against the pain in his backside. At the critical moment, as Xiaolon barreled toward him, the director managed to steady Xiaolon's back, executing a leap akin to a goat, narrowly avoiding disaster. As they landed safely, the director's legs trembled. In that fleeting instant, he regretted not having married young. Considering how close he had come to a dire fate, how much trouble could a newcomer cause in the workplace? Not much. Really, just forcing a superior to relive the childhood escapade of goat jumping. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to," Xiaolon exclaimed, but the director, with his back turned, recognized the voice and, momentarily recalling the fierce love of a father, hesitated to rebuke him. Ultimately, he simply waved his hand dismissively. "You're fine. Just go on." At that moment, Xiaolon was no longer drowsy but rather startled. He gazed at the director's retreating figure, feeling an inexplicable sense of familiarity. Though the silhouette soon vanished into the meeting room. What if my career ends here? He slapped his forehead in anxiety, uncertain how he could make amends. Directorin, seemingly the head of the East City branch, is the ultimate superior in the true sense of the term. While one may hesitate to speculate on the breadth of his character, it is evident that a reasonable person would not take kindly to a subordinate who inadvertently causes them internal distress upon first meeting. This predicament necessitates a remedy. Offering gifts or money is out of the question. It is rumored that Directorin is a workaholic, and attempting to bribe a superior could lead one straight into legal trouble. Upon reflection, the only talent he possesses that could be of any use is his culinary skill. The duration of the meeting remains uncertain, so he resolves to borrow the precinct's cafeteria to prepare a late-night snack for everyone. Upon entering the cafeteria, he discovers an ample supply of flour, prompting him to decide on crafting a pot of steamed dumplings. The filling for the dumplings can be adapted from that used for buns, ensuring a delightful outcome. Compared to the preparation of buns, making dumplings eliminates the fermentation step, allowing for a quicker serving. Otherwise, they might conclude the meeting without having dined. Of course, he is not limited to just flour-based dishes. He is proficient in preparing a variety of cuisines. However, considering the ongoing meeting, it would be prudent to opt for something light and easily shareable. Just imagine him preparing a dish of stir-fried intestines. Attendees would either be jostling for bites with chopsticks, creating chaos, or they would be left with greasy mouths and furrowed brows, compelled to loosen their collars. Alternatively, they might find themselves chewing vigorously while discussing capture tactics, only to discover that their food has yet to soften. This would hardly be dignified. Mindful of the need for practicality, he chooses not to prepare soupy boiled dumplings, but rather opts for steamed ones. Steamed dumplings are cooked in a bamboo steamer, which better retains the essence of the filling. In contrast, boiled dumplings are submerged in boiling water, resulting in a softer skin and a smoother texture. Many assume the distinction between steamed and boiled dumplings lies solely in their cooking methods. However, the preparation of each type of dumpling is inherently different. Steamed dumplings are crafted from a hot water dough that is soft yet elastic, exuding a lively and inviting character. They embrace the generous filling with open arms, and the myriad of folds in the skin represents the warmth of that embrace. Conversely, boiled dumplings are made with cold water dough, resulting in a firmer skin that exudes an aloof demeanor. When immersed in hot water, they puff up, forming a shape that snugly fits the contours of the mouth, delivering a satisfying bite. At this moment, Xiaolan is wholly devoted to preserving his position as a police officer, pouring every ounce of effort into his task. Unbeknownst to him, his hand speed seems to have quadrupled, and his culinary prowess has ascended to new heights. Had the cafeteria's head chef still been present, he would likely have been so overwhelmed as to abandon his craft entirely. Half an hour later, a warm and inviting aroma wafts through the cafeteria. Several on-duty officers catch a whiff of the steam and, drawn by curiosity, approach to investigate. Spotting the lights on in the cafeteria and seeing Xiaolan busily at work, their eyes brighten in delight, and before they can utter a word, saliva begins to pool in their mouths. As Xiaolan lifted the steaming basket, her hand waved at them through the mist. "Leaders, I appreciate your hard work during the meeting, and I know everyone has been laboring late. I prepared some steamed dumplings for a late-night snack to fill our bellies." Upon hearing that these dumplings were meant for everyone, the attendees, without needing any prompting from Xiaolan, eagerly rushed to assist in serving the dumplings. As the old saying goes, those who toil deserve their share, and indeed, with their efforts, it seemed only fair that they should receive a portion of the food. As for how to distribute the dumplings, some had already meticulously planned in their minds. One for the director, one for me, one for the instructor, one for me, one for the team leader, one for me, one for De Huang, one for me, one for Xiao Mei, one for me. They were cheerfully dividing the dumplings when a colleague, unable to tolerate the scene, intervened sharply. "Is this how you intend to divide them? Do you think we can't count?" The individual attempted to defend himself. "I was considering that in the pot, there must be some dumplings with torn skins, which aren't fit for the leaders. Hence, it is only reasonable that I dispose of these inferior ones by consuming them myself." The others cracked their knuckles and scoffed. "If it weren't for Comrade Zhao's exceptional skills, we wouldn't have a single torn dumpling to begin with. You almost had us fooled with your lofty rhetoric. Don't even think about escaping after work. We'll make sure to teach you a lesson." Though they jested, everyone understood that the dumplings should be prioritized for those in attendance. Ultimately, they were portioned into disposable plates for the meeting room, with at least 6 dumplings on each plate. A large platter was also prepared and placed in a corner of the room, allowing anyone who felt unsatisfied after their initial serving to help themselves. As for the remaining baskets of dumplings, they were, indeed, theirs to enjoy. Before long, after coordinating with the director, the plates of dumplings were carried into the meeting room. Throughout the meeting, particularly during the lengthy discussions, it was commonplace for assistants to enter and replenish tea and snacks, so the arrival of officers was met with little more than a casual glance before everyone returned to their deliberations. "I believe we must eradicate all evildoers. We should apprehend everyone we can locate, and if we lack manpower, we can always request assistance from other precincts. No, I believe time is of the essence tonight. We should focus on capturing the ringleaders first. I find that unwise. Since our time is limited, perhaps we should forego immediate action and instead organize a blockade, arranging for arrests tomorrow." At this juncture, the meeting had reached an impasse. Although all shared the same objective, their styles differed significantly. Some were bold, while others were conservative. Some were aggressive, leading to a divergence of opinions on tactical execution, making consensus elusive. Naturally, this meeting could not extend indefinitely, as a final conclusion time had been established. Once that hour arrived, a vote would be cast, and action would ensue. However, the appointed time had yet to arrive, and thus the participants were eager to assert their viewpoints and garner additional votes. Consequently, the atmosphere within the conference room grew increasingly intense, with each individual holding steadfastly to their opinions, unwilling to concede. A plate of steamed dumplings, much like the subtle aroma that quietly permeated the room, appeared unobtrusively on the right side of the attendees. The first to notice this delicacy were those of lesser influence within the gathering. Although they lacked the authority to sway decisions directly, their preferences had already taken shape, awaiting the moment of voting. In their boredom, they discovered the unexpected presence of a plate of steamed dumplings at their side. These dumplings, exquisite in their translucence, revealed hints of pink filling through the delicate skin, resembling a misty vision, ethereal and elusive. Observing the pristine white plate that held the dumplings, one could not help but liken it to a flawless moon reflected in water. Having spent hours in the meeting, their eyes growing weary, they momentarily mistook the simple utensils for fine porcelain. A mere touch revealed the truth, a disposable paper plate. Starkly basic, clearly left over from a team-building event. Even the chopsticks were absent, replaced by a solitary plastic fork meant for fruit. It was no surprise, after all, that a police station would not uphold high standards for such meetings. The striking appearance of the dumplings rendered the otherwise mundane, disposable tableware appear quite refined. One officer could not help but exclaim inwardly, marveling at the advancements in frozen dumplings. Truly, technology had transformed lives. Casting aside distracting thoughts, an officer casually speared a dumpling and popped it into his mouth. The skin, as thin as a cicada's wing, enveloped him like a bride's veil. Its presence was not a dampening obscurity, but rather a delightful surprise. At the moment his teeth pierced the dumpling's skin, he found himself transported to a wedding scene. Lifting the veil from his bride's head, as her delicate lashes fluttered, her eyes sparkled with affection, gazing deeply into his. The tenderness of her lowered gaze resembled a water lily, shy and delicate in the cool breeze. The officer was momentarily entranced, but upon regaining his senses, he abruptly realized he had never held a wedding, had no wife, and even lacked a girlfriend. Fortunately, 5 more dumplings lay before him. With another bite, he could once again revel in bliss. Before long, the dumpling beside him vanished at an astonishing pace. Those nearby, noticing his actions, instinctively glanced down and discovered dumplings at their own sides. Uncertain of when these delectable morsels had appeared, they reasoned that such a small treat would not take up much space in their stomachs. Thus, they casually speared a dumpling, much like selecting a piece of fruit, and placed it in their mouths. An explosion of astonishing flavor erupted within, rendering every taster speechless, yet their hands continued to reach for more. As an increasing number of individuals uncovered the dumpling's delightful essence, the enticing aroma wafted from their lips, inadvertently drifting into the senses of others. In this heated conference room, the fragrance gradually revealed its ambitions. It arrogantly patrolled along the conference table, seizing each person's collar and shaking them as it demanded, "Who else remains unconvinced by my charm?" At last, the previously contentious trio began to quietly cease hostilities. While one individual spoke, parched and yearning for water, they mistakenly mistook a nearby steamed dumpling for a sliced pear, nonchalantly spearing a piece in a bid to quench their thirst. Whether it satiated their thirst was uncertain. Yet each bite was met with an unspoken silence. Strangely, the fervent desire to persuade others that had once prevailed now vanished without a trace. Perhaps it was the coolness of the dumpling skin that momentarily tempered their fiery tongues, or perhaps the crisp cabbage filling washed away their inner restlessness. The once cacophonous conference room abruptly fell into an eerie silence, dominated only by the urgent sounds of chewing and the frequent gulping of saliva. Those who had finished eating cast longing glances towards the corner of the room, where a large platter of steamed dumplings awaited. There remained plenty, and they yearned to pile the dumplings high on a plate and return to their seats to indulge heartily. They wouldn't even mind eating straight from the platter. Yet, none dared to rise, fearing the revelation of their wandering thoughts. Until, at last, the final speaker in the room forked up the first dumpling. All eyes turned to Anju, awaiting his downfall. Unaware of the eager gazes upon him, he brought the dumpling to his lips, only to suddenly set it down. Why had everyone fallen silent? Did they acquiesce to our proposal? If that were the case, a vote seemed unnecessary. Let us proceed directly with our strategy of focusing on the major points while addressing the minor issues. Surprisingly, no one voiced any objections. Had consensus been reached without a vote? Anju raised an eyebrow, tentatively suggesting, "Shall we conclude the meeting early?" The boldest and most radical members from both sides remained utterly silent. Their silence was tacit approval, prompting Anju to swiftly bring down the gavel, decisively concluding the meeting. Everyone leapt up and rushed towards the exit. Anju, satisfied, speared a dumpling, celebrating as he took a hearty bite. In the end, the conservatives had triumphed. I knew it. That spittle-flying, aggressive mode of debate, while seemingly powerful, could not endure for long. It was my methodical approach that won the war of attrition. The victorious smile that graced his lips abruptly transformed into shock. Anju's eyes bulged as he stared at the half-dumpling on his fork. The taste was so familiar. It resembled the half-bun his father brought him every midday. Looking again at the individuals who had leapt from their seats, it was clear they were not in haste to exit. They were all rushing towards the platter overflowing with dumplings near the door. Could it be that these dumplings were made by Xiaolon? He hastily stuffed the remaining half into his mouth, and the flavor became increasingly recognizable. Amidst the familiar deliciousness, there was a delightful surprise from the new taste. How careless of him. He should have anticipated that with Xiaolon present. One could hardly expect to be served frozen dumplings. This was a feast fit for a national banquet. In an instant, he cast aside all restraint, using his fork as if it were chopsticks, shoveling the remaining steamed dumplings into his mouth with abandon, like a tempest sweeping through the remnants. He still had his cheeks bulging when he hurriedly grabbed an empty plate to seize the leftovers. Dignity was a distant thought. All that mattered were the dumplings. And every morsel was a victory. Some officers, adhering strictly to protocol, placed the dumplings they secured onto their plates before pursuing the next. Others, more cunning, directly forked dumplings from the platter into their mouths. There were those even more audacious, unable to reach the dumplings on the plate, resorting to pilfering from others' plates.